and we are live. Welcome, players across the world, to our show. I'm Oz the Wiz, joined today by my companion in this show, Taya Talks. Taya,
What's popping?
what's good, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy to talk gaming as usual.
Hmm.
Things are kind of quieted down a little bit. Xbox hasn't dropped any news. They did drop a couple of things, so we have a few things to
They
talk about
did,
for sure. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Their financials came out. Aside from their financials, you did mention some news about some shifts or changes in
hmm
terms of their leadership and management when it comes to managing their finances.
yeah. Here's a
The women's
question: do
division.
you think actually that life would be gaming would be interesting without this kind of Xbox drama? Like let's for example, Soros just came out and just dropped, right?
Hmm.
Um, But and I think from a gaming perspective, we can all talk about it. But the truth is, not everyone's going to play Soros, and not everyone really cares about it like that, right? Like Soros will have its niche,
Hmm.
so there isn't really much to talk about. Bar like is it a good game? Is it a bad game? How does this help
Yeah.
Sony go forward? But when it comes to like all these podcasts, what they talk about is the business side of things and how these
Hmm.
games affect these studios. And if you think about it, if Xbox was removed from the equation the last couple of years, there's nothing really to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think this entire generation has been Xbox. Just like in the last generation, it was just PS4. The only difference is when PS4 was trending, it also reflected in the sales and, in the market position. But in terms of like actual news, Xbox has been the only company that has been really interesting this entire generation. I mean, Nintendo hasn't done much in terms of noise. Last generation they had the Switch, which blew everybody's mind, and that was like what everybody was talking about for a while. So yeah, I agree with you. Xbox is the only game in town when it comes to news, when it comes to any sort of like innovation and doing something that's noteworthy and course correcting, all those type of things, all the things that are exciting for someone that is an enthusiast of this medium. Sony has literally done like aside from like big flops like Concord and now Marathon, Sony has been very uneventful in terms of news. So I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, but like, I guess the question is, do you think it's better this way? Because if it wasn't about like news like this, like you could make an argument that we'll be talking more about the actual games and gameplay and things like this instead, as opposed to talking about the business side of things. Or do you think that like, well, it would actually be less interesting because people would actually tune out?
So you see, like in any typical generation, if you go back PS4, you go back 360, the games are important because each game in the mindset of the community sort of shifts the needle, towards one or the other in terms of success. So that's why the games are always the conversation. It's like, ooh, they dropped this. What are the sorry? What's the green team going to drop? That's going to be at this level. So the excitement is always around the titles, and I think this generation, it's been one of those generations where, in terms of exciting titles, there's been very little to none, especially when it comes to the exclusive front, which normally drives the traffic and the news. So the only focus is just on industry stuff that is not um, directly related to the sort of like the releases, because all of the stuff that Xbox is doing is like all future plays. It's all like, well, one day we'll get to this point again. So, um, do I think so? Your question was, do I think it's better this way?
hmm
I think it's better for this generation, basically, is what I'm saying, because there's nothing else to talk about this generation. It's so uneventful. Like, to me, it's like if you're not plugged into the news cycle in terms of conversation around exciting titles that are like generation defining or moving, there's not much to talk about. The only thing that's going to change that now, again, is GTA when it comes out.
Hmm. What do you think is the chicken and an egg situation? That because there isn't many generational. titles coming out that we're all talking about, the
Mm-hmm.
business, or do you think the business side of things is far more enticing and interesting to people? Because I guess I'm trying to look at it from a different point,
Um.
like even like with
Hmm.
movies, whatever it is, you know, um, are is that audience talking more about the business like us? Not maybe not really. They're more talking about the actual movie and the content, right? It's like the games. Whereas it seems like the video game industry are more concerned with talking about the actual business side of things.
So you see, I can't give you an objective answer to that because I follow a lot of sites that cover the business sides of things.
Okay.
Welcome in, Richie. Never late, always on time, brother. So I follow a lot of channels that focus on the business side of things. So I'm not the right person to tell you. Well, geez, I think it's not as bad that side, or it's not as focused. And again, if you look at what's happening in the movie industry right now, there's a huge, in fact, the movie business is in a bigger slump than gaming because there's less reasons for people to go to cinema, and people are not going to cinema. And a lot of movies are bombing. You no longer have your smaller movies or medium movies. So like everyone is waiting for the next big tentpole movie, and those take a long time to make. And there's none out like this year. There's not been really that many. So the conversation focuses on the product when there is product that's exciting. But if there's no product, then people, I think, tend to focus then on the actual business aspect of it. You have the grifters that want to complain and bitch and moan as to why things are not working and why things aren't the way they used to be. And again, they'll never, with a nebulous used to be, they'll never be able to point to a point where things worked the way that they wanted it.
Mm-hmm. To
So
put
I
aside,
think, yeah, to your point, it is that whole chicken and egg situation.
so an example could be like the Avengers, right? Back in the days when the end game Infinity War was around, people were talking
Mhm.
about that content because it was great content, right? But
Correct.
now there isn't great content, so we got to talk about why they flopped.
Yes, like everybody has to, and again, and then it's the stupid argument between the ones that say, "Well, I thought it was a good movie. I don't think it flopped," and then the others that say, "Yeah, it flopped because Marvel is falling apart." There's what is it? That's the word. There's comic book fatigue and or
Mhm.
superhero fatigue, etc., etc. And then like people just have these back and forths about not really the thing,
Mm.
but like
But
what's
possibly
affecting
before
the
you
thing.
finish that sentence, let's get Richie in on it as well. Richie, so what me and Ashes were talking about there was we were saying that this generation we have a lot of like podcasts talking about news and all these kind of things, but we don't really talk about the games. Like for example, Soros has just dropped, right? But I feel like more people are gonna talk about like the news instead, like oh Xbox did this, Sony did DRM that, or whatever it is. And my question was, is the gaming industry better for this? Like, would you prefer a situation where we didn't actually talk about the business side of things and all this, like balance sheets and
Mhm.
all these things, but instead we talked about the actual video games coming out instead? And if we did that, do you think there'll be less people talking about watching podcasts? Because maybe the reason why it's so interesting is because people want to hear the business side of things. People want to see what's working and what's not working, as opposed to like this game is good. Like for example, Soros is
Mhm.
just released now. And my take here was like, would I really want to listen to a podcast talking about Soros? Not really. I
Mhm.
don't care.
So Richie says
You know?
first party exclusive doesn't matter in my opinion. What matters are those huge third party games deciding they are better off ignoring Xbox. That's an interesting one, Richie, and it's something I think we've also spoken about in the past. Yeah, and then we can also get into that, like about like what is more detrimental to Xbox, not getting specific third party titles or not having a strong first party exclusive lineup.
Yeah.
Um, mhm. So Richie also goes on to say people are getting old and we talk about gaming politics instead of being part of the game. So that's also a very honest and true part of it, Richie. Richie's actually hit on the head. Like if I think about it, but then again, I can also say, Richie, that as I'm getting older, the games are not as exciting anymore. So I have to focus on politics. But that's a good point. It could be just a side effect of, this is an us problem, and the younger demographic doesn't have this problem because they're busy playing their games, Roadblocks and Fortnite.
That is true. That is very true.
Yeah. But like, look, I think neither of them. It's neither this or like it's neither either or, right? I think both have a room or space. And but in the back in the day, I'll be honest with you, like there's a lot of times when, like, if I just think about like the PS4 era, there's a lot of I spent a lot of time watching people play because I had an Xbox One. This sounds so sad. I spent a lot of time just watching YouTubers or streamers play PlayStation games. And I had so much
Mhm.
fun with it, like watching someone play Last of Us. Because again, PlayStation games, the way they're made to play out like movies. So how I used to play those kind of games, with my friends back in the day, is that there'd be three of us and we'd pass the controller around. I play this level, you play the next level. And I used to love watching people like play those games because they looked so fun. They looked so captivating in terms of spectacle. So you can talk about games or cover games or have a podcast where you stream and you talk about the game with the audience. So
No,
yeah,
I agree. I agree. You can, and I think obviously, once we start getting into the whole streaming situation where people watching Fortnite and all these kind of things, gaming definitely has changed in that sense. Who would have thought like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, people would actually
yeah,
want to watch people play games as opposed to playing it themselves. Like I was
exactly.
speaking to some people and they would tell me like, "Oh, I watch PewDiePie," but then even at that, I guess that's just the way the media's gone. Because you could also say, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, who would have thought people would be watching independent people on YouTube make content and talk about these things? I find like when I can be watching Netflix, high production value TV shows, I'm watching some guy just talk about whatever. But then again, you can make an argument that like it was already foreshadowed because radio stations did this, right? Radio
Yeah,
stations are very
yeah,
low budget in comparison to TV
hmm
shows or movies,
yeah,
and news, but people tuned in. So yeah.
correct. So actually, while you were talking, I had like a flash forward to the future, and you were talking about people watching people play games, and I was thinking, you know what? I'm actually one of the few people. I don't like people that are like idealists. Like I hate it when these like there's like and especially some of the bigger key guys who are like the PC guys. They tend to have these idealistic, very unrealistic and silly takes, in my opinion, that only exist in a vacuum. I'm not gonna mention names, Alex, uh, but like they're these guys that have these idealistic takes. Like for instance, like gaming is like this communist activity that we all enjoy, like that is for everyone, that needs to be democratized. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. And then they also the same people who hold these absolute stances about AI, like all AI is bad and all AI needs to go away and blah 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 blah, regardless of its applications, right? And you've seen that negativity in within the gaming community. It's very vast. But I'm one of those people that says, look, I have things, and I'm going to share with you guys now, that I'm very passionate about, like that I would love to see. And Taya, when you were talking about watching, uh, you know, we want to play games. We don't necessarily want to watch people play games. I was thinking about this whole co-pilot um, companion feature that Xbox is working on, and I'm thinking there's so much potential there. I wish I could actually go propose this to Asha to say, instead of, you remember we used to have avatars, right? Xbox avatars.
Yes, I do.
Type.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So why not make an avatar that's going to be like your companion? Instead of it just sitting and doing nothing in the background, you can actually assign it to go play games while you're away, or it can play games with you. And then, so in other words, you train it, it learns from you. The AI learns from you, it learns how you play the game, it learns how you. So before you play a game, right? Also, before you task it to help you with a game, it first has to see how you play. and then you have to train it in certain levels, and then you have to interact with it, but you make it like a collaborative thing from yourself as the player as well. But then you can actually task it to play certain levels. Depending upon you can actually, and of course there'll be things like if you use the companion, you can't get certain achievements. You have to play through the level to get like the achievements, etc., etc. But you can still have it play the game with you and finish certain levels. Or like if it's a racing game and you wanted to go and grind for you or level up for you, you can task the companion to doing that. And then you almost have a gaming buddy that you can chat to, that the moment you plug in, it's going to ask you, hey, do you want to pick up where we left off in Mass Effect? We're still a little bit, we're at this level. We need to get to this level, and so that we can be able to go through the IFF relay. So we have 3 companion quests to go and finish.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is such a practical way to use AI. So now you have a gaming buddy that can play with you, to the point that if you're playing fighting games, for instance, right, your companion can be the versus. So you can play versus with your companion, and then you can train it, and it can make you better.
Yeah. Agreed. No,
I think that is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think it sounds good. I think it's a good way to implement AI that isn't intrusive for a lot of people, and there's actually some practical benefit there. I mean, there'll be people out there who's gonna insult it no matter what,
Of
but
course, they're gonna hate
whenever
on
you
it. Yeah.
make it, an optional thing, eventually it'll just go away and just ignore people online and let people who actually buy the devices and who actually wants to, implement these things, let them make the decision. Don't let people try to police people.
Yeah, I mean, like if you can get like, because I'll tell you this, even though there'll be like a lot of negativity when you announce it, but like by the time some people start using it, you'll see a lot of positive feedback in terms of that. Because again, there's a huge market of people that want to just relax, and you want to grind through certain levels, especially for games like freaking Elden Ring. I would just give it certain levels and just watch it play, and then pick up whenever the exploration or whatever that I need to do. I think, yeah, give people that choice. I think that is a smart way to use AI, something that a lot of people don't think has a lot of value in gaming.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know what the chat thinks. So, Rachie, tell me what you think. Would you like to have an AI companion? And as an additional thing is you can make them hot. I always say throw that option in there. Elon Musk certainly did, and it worked for his AI companions on Grog, because it's the only thing, in my opinion, that's worth using on Grog, because Grog is such an unreliable AI.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you.
All right. Anywho, I think that's a nice way to start things off. So, Taya, have you been playing anything?
No, I've pretty much decided not to play Replaced anymore. Not because it's a bad game. It's just because I read more reviews and I spoke to some people on Reddit, the Irish gaming Reddit. They all kind of said the same thing I thought about it, which was like, it kind of gets repetitive somewhat, and the story, can drive you, but the gameplay is pretty much going to be the same thing. And I just felt like, nah, I could probably use my time for something better. Maybe I still could go back to it, but I'm more interested in probably playing the Banishers right now. So I'll probably do that instead. But I have a few things going on. I'm a bit busy with certain things. So gaming isn't like put it this way, if I play a game, it needs to really be unique and different and catch my attention. And credit to Capcom, credit to, Replaced as well. Like these games are doing unique things, different things to try to like bring me in. We saw Blood of the Dawnwalker, the gameplay mechanics are quite similar to Kingdom Come Deliverance, I believe. However, the way they've structured is how you have a certain amount of time and you can't do every mission straight away. Like, well, you can, but it's going to have consequences. So I think you have like, 6 days before the game ends, and you have to decide what you're going to do. Everything plays a role. That's a spin on the RPG genre, and it's those kind of spins that's going to get players to want to like play. So it's creativity. You're not going to do anything that's going to be genre defining, or it's going to be like as unique. But you can change things up, add elements in that people haven't done before, to make your game stand out and be unique. You can do that from an artistic point of view and a gameplay point of view, or a gameplay point of view. And the games that are going to probably win are the games that do both.
Yeah. So speaking about autistic games, I actually started playing the Dispatch finally, um, and
Mm.
like there's a reason why I was actually dreading playing a game like the Dispatch, um, and it's that it's that Telltale game feel of it's a great series, it's a great movie thing that I'm doing,
Mhm.
but the interactivity is so few and far in between. I like after like playing quite a lot of it. Um, what I, well, not a lot of it, but like just the intro, like the intro part, and I'm gonna finish it tonight after the podcast. Um, I noticed that wow, like the story grabs you, and they're so good. Ty. Like, have you played it,
No, I haven't played it.
dude? They bring you in, right? You have like an awesome fighting scene where you're like in this Iron Man sort of armor thing, and then you get your ass whipped, but then this hot superhero chick saves you, and immediately you have this connection with her. You have very awesome dialogue. I'm like, this is how you open your freaking game. I'm like, they've got me. And immediately, like within, like I'm not even talking hours, the only other game I can think of that grabbed me as quickly, and this is what I always say about any game. I don't care the budget, I don't care the genre. If you can grab me within the first 15 minutes, your game to me is going to be a game that I will make an effort to finish. That's gonna have I'm gonna give it real estate. 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours, great. That's the sweet spot for me. And it did all those things. It got me in, and it got me hooked, and it got me interested. By having interesting characters from the get-go, protagonist is interesting, the companions are immediately interesting. The only thing I will say is there's a serious lack of gameplay in the game.
Yeah,
It's the even
it's
less than in
less than
Telltale
Zelda.
games.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Hmm.
Like, well, but and I've only played the intro though. The you know where the gameplay is not the action bits. The gameplay is the little mini pause, the actual dispatching. I suppose, yeah, maybe the
Yeah.
game is called the dispatch. The dispatching is where the core game is.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you're looking for an action Telltale type game, I would
Mm-hmm.
say sort of like curb your enthusiasm a bit because of the fact that it's not that.
Yeah.
But if you like stories and you love, you know, like a solid narrative, good characters, and all that, yeah, that is your game. So I've been playing that, and I'm looking forward to finishing it.
Are you playing it on
Um,
handheld mode or are you playing it on PC?
no, I'm playing it on PC.
Okay.
Yeah, no, like it's like one of those games that I'm very comfortable playing it on my chair, but I don't mind. I don't mind on handheld. That's another thing that's actually cool about it. I can just actually just throw it on my handheld. Highly
Yeah.
recommended, ladies and gents. If you've not played the Dispatch, go check it out. Very creative, but I would love to see what that studio could do if they were in charge of narrative and they got a team that could do gameplay to build an
Mm-hmm.
actual game.
Yeah. What's what she's saying here? You're waiting for the gamepads version? What's the gamepad? Gamepads version.
I don't
Hmm.
know because it works on gamepad, Reichi, on Steam. I'm using it with gamepad. Maybe he's talking about mobile. Maybe on mobile it doesn't allow you to use gamepad yet. I don't know.
Oh, there's no mobile version. Funny enough, Dispatch is a game that there should be a game.
Oh,
Great
gamepad.
game.
Oh.
What the hell? There's no Game Pass version.
He wants it to come on Game Pass because it is on Xbox now.
Well, where is it? Like, well, I guess here's the thing, Rachie. This is an interesting question. If Dispatch wasn't, I mean, first of all, it's not coming out on Game Pass, right? So that's number one.
It's
It's
not. It's
coming out. It's
coming out.
Play Anywhere. But if
Yeah.
Dispatch wasn't coming out on Game Pass, you know that for a fact, would you have purchased it already?
But
I guess.
Reichi knows it's not coming out on Game Pass, but he's holding out for the hope.
But see, so I always say, like, you know, for people like this who wait on Game Pass, they tell me two things. Number one, they weren't that interested in the game, so I don't even take it as a lost cannibalized sale. So that's number
Yeah.
one. And number two, This somebody saying I'm waiting for it to come out on Game Pass to me is the equivalent of somebody saying I'm waiting for it to go on sale,
Hmm.
which means you weren't that interested in the game that much in the first place, or the game didn't catch you enough for you to go out and actually want to purchase it.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
is like I'm
Like,
thinking about Elden Ring. Like no one who wants to play Elden Ring is going to say, oh well, I'm gonna wait maybe a year or two before it comes out on Game Pass. It's like no, you probably just didn't care about Elden Ring that much.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. Uh, Richie says I will wait for 50% off. So yeah, so it is. It's not a game that's on his priority list.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have that attitude too. There's a lot of great games or people say are awesome games that I would still actually just wait for them to sort of get on deep discount or catch them on Game Pass. But if it's a must, to your point, I will definitely. If it's a game that, and Dispatch is a game that I bought because immediately I could see the potential there, and some of the people I trust when it comes to giving these sort of reviews all liked it, and yeah, like so far, like I'm not disappointed at all. Um, so yeah, I'll tell you how that goes or how I find it. But I really wish someone could. I suppose that game has been made. It's called Baldur's Gate 3. But the dialogue is that level in terms of just you could tell that these people were not just building a game just based on role playing or action, but there's actual focus on narrative and story. Hope to see more of those. Oh yes, another thing before we get diving into the topic. Um, I don't know if you saw the beta for The Expanse is out. Some people got to play it. Did you
The
hear anything
Expanse.
about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard that. So from a gameplay point of view, expected. People said it feels okay, feels good. From a exploration point of view, feels okay, feels good. People are really having an issue with the voice acting though. Two things. Number one, some of the voice acting they said it's not great. The characters sound a bit iffy.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that the main complaint here as well is that the actual script isn't pleasant. It doesn't feel like the expanse. It feels a bit cheesy. It feels very much like maybe even Andromeda to some extent. Funny enough, somebody did a comparison
Wow,
video.
Andromeda.
Well, just some of the lines are just like the delivery for some of the characters is meh, but also even if it's delivered nice, it doesn't fit the Expanse universe, which is a bit more hardcore. So someone actually made a dialogue comparison with the Exodus, which is Mass Effect spiritual successor. And funny
Yeah.
enough, the more I see Exodus, the more I'm like, no, Exodus is actually the Mass Effect spiritual successor. It seems because
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
no, I have no doubt about that.
yeah, all the like gameplay stuff from Exodus seems more in line with Mass Effect number one. The colors seem more in line with Mass Effect. Everything's just matches Mass Effect.
No, 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 no. I agree. I think, and again, like, what is it? Is it Cat Owl or something? They're a very
Al
small studio.
Alcat games,
Owlcat,
yeah.
yeah, the Owlcat Games. They're a very small studio. They're very good at doing your smaller in terms of like budget, but like the scale is grand because they can like be granular with it. But I don't think that like this is their first attempt at something this big. So I don't think they're gonna get it right the first time around. Um, so I've tempered my expectations. As long as they give me a unique experience that is character driven, I've got an open mind.
Yeah. Same thing as well. Like I said to some dudes, like, yeah, you could say it's a bad adaptation in terms of like, well, they didn't get the dialogue right in terms of the universe. But the question is, is it still a good game? Is it still written well? Is the gameplay good? And the answer is yes. And a bad adaptation doesn't mean a bad game. It just means it's a bad
Also,
adaptation.
I'm not an Expanse fan, so I'm not going to be as disappointed if it doesn't live up to my expectations. Like I have no expectations from from the Expanse. I've watched, I think, the first or second season.
Mhm.
yeah, it was not my thing. Um, so that all that they I think is gonna affect Expanse fans more than you know guys like me that are just there for the role playing story. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, cool, man. So should we get into it? Is there any other thing that you want to discuss? Any other stories before we get into our main topic?
No, I'm gonna
Because
get
today
into it.
I didn't actually I didn't set out like an
Notes.
agenda with several talking points. I just wanted to focus on the whole exclusive experience or the whole exclusive story conversation because I think it's such a broad conversation that yeah, it's worth a show. We've touched on it in the past, but we've never had a show just dedicated to discussing it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we can move on and just probably address some of Richie's comments.
Yeah, I'm going through the chat. So Richie says, I played VN called Henchman. What's a VN? It's
Visual novel.
oh, visual novel. Cool. It's a comedy where you are a henchman for a mediocre villain. That actually sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it
Did you
sounds
get this
unique.
on Steam? Yeah.
No, he says it plays. Well, he plays on the. It says it plays on the Windows tablet.
Oh, so it's not available. So what did you get it on the
I think
Android store?
he. Well, I think he probably pirates these things. Rich is a bad guy.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. But like, let us know, Rachel, where we can find these games, these interesting VNs. That's the thing I like the most about Steam, though, is that Steam has so many VNs that you would never get anywhere else. Oh, it's on Steam.
Oh,
Look
it
at
is on
that,
Steam.
Ty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's the
That's
name?
fine.
It's
Sorry,
called
sorry for
Henchman.
accusing you of being a thief.
It's called Henchman. Okay, I'll definitely because I know those games normally are not. They're not gonna break the bank.
Why
I'll
don't you gonna
definitely
play it?
put it on
Because
my
I
wish
think
list.
you prefer things more like Dispatch. Like if you find Dispatch to be problematic, then Henchman and all these other visual novels definitely won't be for you. Dispatch is probably like the best version of a game that is like has a visual novel elements of like I'm actually telling you an actual story with some gameplay elements. All these visual novels don't have any gameplay. It's just you just make decisions and that's it.
Look, I've played far lesser visual novels that I'm not proud of having
Mhm.
finished. So I'm not a what's the word? I'm not an
You're not
elitist
picky.
when it comes to this genre. Uh, I'm willing to dabble in anything and everything. Especially when you look at like the adult like genre within or the adult category within Steam. Everything is a VN. And yeah, and I wish they would move on from that and start doing more with it. So I've sampled quite a few, and I would actually love, and I floated this idea to Loke back in the day that when I decide that it's time for me to just focus on just cutting videos, I want to do some reviews for those games and like actual serious reviews that sort of look at like okay, where can we take this, because I think there's a lot of potential within that genre, especially for smaller indie guys. But at the moment everyone is sort of making the same thing, which I don't see changing anything going forward.
Mhm.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, Tay, let's get into exclusives. So I want to start with that article that came. Well, it's not even an article, but like everyone was quoting this new Sakana study that came out that shows that the survey. I mean, Christopher Drigg actually spoke about it in his show. I wanted to go cut his show, but I was like, geez, I don't know where he's gonna start talking about this because I don't think there were timestamps. And then just get to hear what he was saying about that particular thing or that specific thing. Are you aware of this?
Yes, I am aware that there was a poll. I think they said 40% of people surveyed said that they pick a console based on exclusives.
Oh, really?
Was it 40%?
It was I know it was majority. I know it was like an overwhelming majority
Mm-hmm.
pick an exclusive base. Pick a console based on exclusives. It was definitely not like a. It was definitely not like a small number. I think it was upwards. I think it was about, was it 70%?
Oh, that might be too. I think it was around in the 40s, I believe. I
I
do know there
have
was
it.
some.
I
I
have
do know
it.
there
I
was
have
some
it.
push.
I'll
Sure.
tell you. But sorry, go ahead while I look
I
for.
do know there was some pushback even, and I think there was some context missing. I think even Matt said that. But like for argument's sake, let's just go with the fact that like yeah, people um seem to pick their devices based on exclusives.
Okay, sorry. What I have just says the number one reason why people. This was the first quarter of 2026. The number one reason why people play on a console is because of exclusive games. The number two reason is because of family and friends.
Yeah, family and friends will make sense. For sure. I think that might even be a large influence because at least back in the day, if you wanted to play FIFA, NBA, all these games, you know, you couldn't play with your friends because the ecosystems were separate. But now that like everything is unified between PlayStation, Xbox, that probably isn't as big of a factor. But just you know, obviously having the same console as your friends as a child or as a kid, yeah, that I think that you know that tracks. You kind of just go
Mhm,
with what the you know the audience is going with.
mhm. Would you say that there's any validity to that survey
Yeah, I would.
or to
I
that
would say
poll?
that when all things are equal, you need a pillar or marketing beat, and I think exclusives do a really great job at that. You might not want to play The Last of Us. You might not want to play
Mhm,
Ghost of Tsushima, maybe even God of War. But the fact that you're seeing these games, you're seeing their cinematic prowess, you're seeing everyone talk about it, it creates a cadence or vibe of quality. And then that
mhm,
could be the tipping point that makes you want to get it. You might not even buy the games. You might just go buy Call of Duty or FIFA. But at the end of the day, it's a marketing beat that's quite powerful
mhm,
to be true. So I'm not surprised that people are making these decisions based on a console. Now I do think there's an element of like you know friends and family. I think that's quite high as well, and the overall vibe. But my argument here is that like the exclusives add to that marketing beat. I think that's really important.
mhm. If you look at, like, for instance, where we are now in this generation,
Uh-huh.
if we have a look at, like, for instance, we have a look at Sony, we have a look at Xbox, we have a look at Nintendo. Would you say exclusives have played a part in how the things have gone down?
Um, as of now, no, I don't think exclusives has played it. Well, I mean,
This
well,
entire generation.
I think okay. So that question has really two answers, or at least there's two ways to tackle it. The first way is I can say that the lack of okay. I'll start with this. Xbox going multi-platform as of 2023 or whatever
Mhm,
did not in any way, shape, or form affect their outcome as of now. It might have maybe
mhm,
hastened a few like you know loss of console sales, but nothing that I would say is probably dramatic or too material.
mhm. So
I
you
think the
don't
reason.
think, okay? So you
Go
don't
on.
think it's changed any variables for them going third party in 2024?
I think it's put them in a downward spiral. But from an online perspective, but I don't believe that there's like a. I think they're already in a downward spiral. To be honest,
Mhm,
like I think they're already going down. I think that's why they made the decisions they made to even go multi-platform because it was like, okay, well, this is gonna mess up anyway. It's almost like Sega during the Dreamcast era, to an extent. I mean, it's not the same, but like, you know, before the Dreamcast was officially cancelled, they put some games on different platforms, right?
mhm.
And
Yes.
was it because you know they gave up, or was it because they saw the numbers and the numbers were saying that like, yo, we need to do this? I think at the end of the day, you know, Starfield was the game that was supposed to you know win them back everything. It didn't. I
Yeah,
think
but do you
this
think
was
that's
Starfield.
realistic though? Like, you've been fumbling for over a decade, and then you think one game is going to be the be and all answer?
So I think from an Xbox point of view, they knew what was probably going on, but I think from a Microsoft point of view, they didn't. All they knew was that the numbers were going up, and the numbers was going up for everybody. But then around 2021, when the industry started to kind of regress or crash, um, then decides to take a deeper look at it, and then Microsoft comes in and is like, "Where's the revenue?" And then all I think Xbox could say was like, "Well, we have this game called Starfield that's going to launch, and it's going to grow Game Pass and consoles." And Xbox is probably looking at it thinking, "We don't know if that's going to be the case. Like, are you sure? Okay, you know what? Let's try." So I think Microsoft then, okay, let's try, and then they tried, and it just didn't pan out. And then obviously then the ABK deal was going through, and during the ABK deal, it took longer than expected, and again the industry is kind of regressing. And then once the ABK deal goes through, it's kind of like, yo, was this really the best thing to do? From a financial perspective, like, is this going to work? Um, for example, you could almost see how someone like a Satcher could believe that, like, oh, well, we put Culture on Game Pass is going to grow it and people are going to start buying our consoles, but he doesn't know that, like, well, if you if it's still on PlayStation, people are not going to move. He doesn't know these things.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
of
like
course.
I feel like all the main guys, they started to like look into it and they started to understand the industry better. They started to understand how gamers think and how gamers work. And once Microsoft
Um,
started to understand how
mm,
gamers think and work, they came to the conclusion that, like, oh no, this isn't gonna work. Like, this Xbox thing
then,
isn't gonna grow.
then I just think if you've been running a business for how long? It's nearly like it's almost like five. How many decades? It was released in 2005, right?
20 years
25
plus.
years. It's the 25th anniversary this year. If
Mhm.
you've been running a business for 25 years and your upper echelon or your leadership still doesn't understand how the core, like how your business works, jeez, that is to me, glaringly concerning. Like, this is not something that you started yesterday. This is not your first rodeo into gaming. You've been doing this for 25 years. So around the time they made this decision, what was it, like 20 years?
Mhm.
That is inexcusable. There's no excuse for you not to understand how an industry works if you've been in it for 20 years plus.
But you see, I don't think, even for example, that they first of all, like, they didn't really care about Xbox like that in that sense, right? So that's the first thing. But second of all, as long as the number goes up, they don't really care. Like, if you were to ask, like, maybe somebody who's more in tuned, like maybe I don't want to say Steve Jobs, but like Tim Cook, for example, he might understand maybe a little bit more of the details between the iPhone industry, right? The phone business. But he might not actually understand maybe as much as he should the Apple the Apple TV business, because maybe to him it's like, well, I don't really specialize in that. I'm just going to put someone in charge of that. And if the numbers are going up for him for Apple TV and it's bringing in revenue, he probably doesn't really care too much as long as the numbers are going up. He's just not looking to understand it in a detailed point of view. But
Mhm.
and I think Microsoft was kind of like that with Xbox, because Phil would say, give us money and this will happen, and the money will go up. And as far as ever comes, like, listen, you gotta think about it this way: they
Yeah.
purchase Minecraft, and as soon as you purchase Minecraft, you start making money. This is not like buying Bethesda and you're waiting for them to turn good, from a profit point of view. It's not like buying, ABK, and it's just kind of like more or less the same. This is buying Minecraft in its ascendancy, and then the next year Minecraft gets more players, more money, and it just keeps going up and up and up. And this is during the period of time where the microtransactions was taking place and everything was just shooting up. Like, Xbox was having its highest revenue during this period, right? During 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Things were looking great. And then COVID happened, right? And then when COVID happens, the numbers are even going up more and more and more. And then you don't know when COVID's going to finish. And as far as you're concerned, yeah, we might be locked down for 10 years. So yeah, let's keep making games, and let's Game Pass was the fastest growing subscription, movies, TVs, in its inception. So if you're Microsoft and you see, like, you don't care what games are going to Game Pass, all you know is like this number has shot up from 0 to like 20 million in like 1-2 years or something like that.
So,
So
so
you're
you don't
happy.
think Phil Spencer did some, or like the team at Xbox did very good risk management and and management of expectations?
I think Xbox was profitable, but I think a lot of that profit was based on the circumstances of the industry at the
But
time.
everybody was seeing profits go up at that time.
Exactly,
Everybody was making mad money at
exactly.
that time.
But remember, if you're a platform holder like Xbox or PlayStation, your profit is going even higher. Because everyone's third party are buying 30% from you, etc., etc. So I think Microsoft was seeing the profit, they were seeing things happening. They were buying studios, but you just bought Obsidian, Playground Game, in Excel. That next year your profit margins go up. Sorry, your revenue goes up.
Hmm.
Next year revenues go up, and it keeps going up. Minecraft keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. If you're Sata, you just don't care. Let it keep going up. Like it got to the point where you could ask Sacha right now, like his bonus was tied to Game Pass. But if you
Hmm.
ask him why is Game Pass doing so well, as far as he's concerned, oh yeah, we put games in it and it grows up.
Hmm.
You know, and then it's when all those factors that help the growth of the industry regressed. Well, now the core part, that's the most important part, needs to show itself, and that is the games. And the games were not ready, and the ones that were ready weren't good enough, and
Yeah.
that's why I
But
think everything
again,
collapsed.
so the failure was in the management and the leadership, because they should have made sure that those games were ready when it was crunch time. When, to your point, when the industry normalized, they should have had those releases ready.
Yeah, 100%. They should have.
Yeah,
How can
I
they
agree.
fix Xbox if they can't fix Windows? Microsoft has been down overall. Yeah, I mean, listen, Richie, makes a good point, but I think they can fix all these things. They just need to obviously diagnose the problem, and I think honestly they have. I think they understand exactly what's been going on with with Microsoft, sorry, with Windows and Xbox and all these situations. So changes are happening. Um,
Yeah. But like,
uh,
I think Rach is also just talking about the fact that if you ask anyone, even before AI, Windows was in some shape or form broken. So a lot of people have been complaining, like it's that thing that you keep using, but yeah, it's nowhere near optimal at any point in time. So there is that sort of sentiment, or like, well, you have to tolerate Windows to use it. It's nowhere near as efficient and as effective as, say, a Mac.
But what
So,
I think when you're in a superior position, um, innovation doesn't really come as much, and I think you just have to focus on different things. Focus on things to make the numbers go up, and you got to remember, like when COVID happened, everyone's staying at home, so Windows probably Microsoft shut up, all these tech companies shut up, and the
yeah.
race was to put in place all this implementation. Like Windows doesn't really have a competitor, so but you could say that like from a default point of view, they can just do whatever the hell they want to do. But I think they see the Windows brand going down. They've forced AI. Consumer sentiment isn't great, and the worst thing you want to do is this: like if you're a platform and you want to scare off competition, you want to be in a position where your competition, um, everyone either loves you and you're innovating so much that the competition can't even keep up. So when you look at someone like Steam, everyone loves Steam, and if a new player wants to come in, they need to recognize that they need to do a lot of investment to actually compete with Steam.
Hmm.
The Steam is so good. So the best way to actually scare off competition is to just make sure your product is great and make sure the consumers love your product and don't want to even consider the other stuff at all. Um,
So,
so I think what Microsoft is probably trying to do now is saying to themselves like, we're actually in a position where there's a lot of people who actually hate maybe Windows or just tolerate it, and that doesn't breed loyalty. So who's to say that someone with a huge budget, marketing budget or whatever it is, maybe an Apple, maybe Facebook, maybe not Facebook, but like I mean, somebody comes in and they start to give an alternative, and then people jump ship because for whatever reason, um, they jump ship because for whatever reason they don't have that brand loyalty, right? So I think that's where Microsoft is looking at and saying to themselves, yeah, we need to switch up.
Yeah, I mean, like their main competitor, like or future competitor, when it comes to the space, is Linux. Even as obscure as Linux is, because the threat is games moving off the Windows platform. Because if Steam can run on Linux as well as it is, then it means that Steam potentially in the future will not need to run on Windows, which I think would be catastrophic for Microsoft's consumer base, not their business base, like their consumer base, which is like I suppose that's what they're called. Not their business customers, their private customers. So those people will then now have very little reason to stay on Windows as a platform. So I think that's what they're looking at. They're seeing that threat now, is the fact that Linux and Steam are a serious future threat for their customer base, or for moving people off Windows, and for gamers specifically. Because for productivity, if you're already using Windows for productivity, you're not gonna move to Linux. But a lot of people have already moved to Apple for productivity. So Rachie says, Windows was for nerds. The family nerd recommended what to buy to their social circle. Now the nerds feel disgusted with Windows. There's a lot of truth to that, Rachie. I really do believe that it's, and especially in our space, it's really a platform that is used, especially like if we talk about the United States. It's really a platform that's used for gaming. It's where gaming lives because everybody plays on Steam, but they use Steam on Windows. And I wonder how much that would hurt their base if, for instance, let's say 50% of Steam's user base could now effectively game on Linux, which is what the Steam machine effectively was trying to move people from a Windows based system to Linux.
Yeah, and I think that's where I think they see this. I think they see this as a threat, and I think they're realizing that um, when the competition gets better and these things start to work, or people start to create systems that allows you to bend or to sidestep windows, um, people will eventually start to move because there's no loyalty
Uh-huh.
there, and once that happens, you're kind of done. And you're gonna start losing, market share. And I think that's why you're seeing across the board. It wasn't just Xbox; it was Microsoft saying, "Yeah, listen, we messed up everywhere. Like we messed up in Windows. We're trying to we're reinvesting in Windows. So now they're in this growth mode where they want Windows to be top tier again, because they don't want the big fish to come in snooping and trying to take away their customers. They know people don't like them, and people are looking for an excuse to leave.
Yeah.
But no one has presented them with a viable option as of yet. And I said this to you before, like, what are you doing at the dragons at the gate? Forget about the ones who are like, there's no dragons inside, but the ones at your gate. And the ones at your gate, eventually they'll break down the door. The question is, how do you fight them off? But instead of just fighting them off, how about you just destroy them before they get in? You know?
Yeah. So Rachie mentions the Neo here. I dislike Apple, but now I want to recommend everyone to buy the Mac Neo. That Mac Neo is really chipping away at the Windows OEM user base, because of the fact that like it's the first time that a Mac has been that affordable in my understanding, and it's packed with all those features that you can expect from Apple. Aside from the fact that you are now able to, at that level, have a stable laptop that's not gonna heat up, that's not gonna make noise, that you never need to shut down or switch off. Um, Again, like, yeah, man. To your point, I think the wolves are at the gate. But like, look, it doesn't look dire because everybody says, "I know Microsoft is wealthy, they're rich." they should be able to withstand this. So okay, let's go back to exclusives. So in terms of exclusives, Ty, I just wanted to focus on a couple of things. Do you think, and again, I think we can even do what's it called, armchair booking here, or is it coaching or management, where we can propose scenarios in terms of, like, for instance, I think for me there's so many things that Xbox could have done. If you ask me now, and I'll ask you, and I'll give it to the chat as well. If you could go back, because we've spoken about, okay, cool, what would you do now going forward with, say, the Helix? What would be your plan for the Helix? And I think, yeah, when we get to the end of this conversation, then we can get into the Helix. We've discussed how, like, for instance, with the Helix, how would we go about ensuring that the console is successful? How are we going to target it? How are we going to market it? Etc. Etc. But I think it's also important, because I think understanding where you went wrong and why you went wrong is just as important as understanding what to do right in the future.
Mhm.
So if we're to fantasy book going back to 2020, everything is in place the way it is already. If you want, you can even, let's say, you can take 2 years back, 2 years forward. So in other words, you can say 2018, 2022. It's up to you. But if you had to fantasy book and say you're in that period and time, and you are head of Xbox, you're in charge of the Xbox brand or Xbox in general, what would you do differently from Phil, and what do you think your results or impact would be?
So first of all, Richie says I would need to see what games are on the pipeline. If there are Redfall over Redfall in the pipeline, I will leave Microsoft because Xbox has no hope. Yeah. So I mean, the first thing that Xbox would need to do, if we're going all the way back in this fantasy setting, would be to first of all, I think the Game Pass question. I would have just created Game Pass Ultimate as the version that gives you all the games day one. So that's number one. I wouldn't have a standard Game Pass version. Now you can actually make an argument that that actually would have benefited Xbox in general, because it's a better marketing tool than saying just you just say Game Pass and everyone understands as opposed to saying Game Pass Ultimate. But I think just to kind of like stop from the potential backlash of moving every game to exclude to Game Pass Ultimate every day one games, I would just have Game Pass Ultimate as the default for exclusive games. So that's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would have done here is probably just I would have attacked time exclusives for sure. Now it's a bit tricky to decide which ones to take, especially because PlayStation is also being quite aggressive. But I would have definitely looked into something like maybe Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I would have looked into different other titles. I would have looked into China. A game like Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade. Those would have been, pinned down as exclusives and Game Pass plays as well. But really and truly, I would have been also investing in the PC storefront 100%. I think whatever they're doing now with the PC storefront is cool, but this thing should have been done years and years ago. So I would have looked to build up my PC storefront, and I would have used the PC and the console as a base. Cloud, I would have just I still would have done the same thing more or less with cloud, but I wouldn't have invested as much into it because cloud is an area where it's growing, but it's not there yet, right? I have some more thoughts on cloud, but I just, without making this conversation too long, PC and Xbox and timed exclusives would have been my main play for sure. It really realistically probably wouldn't have been able to get Cyberpunk as a exclusive, wouldn't have been able to get pretty much any other game that's that big, but definitely I would have been
Okay,
looking
wait.
for
Why would you have been able to get any of those games?
I'm trying to keep it a bit grounded, like in terms of
I mean, you could
because
you could buy Bethesda to keep Starfield exclusive. What's off the table?
oh, okay. If we're doing it a little bit like that, in terms of like buying studios, I don't know if CD Project Red would be willing. I mean, I think they're willing to sell, but I think you would have to really make it worth the while. Like with Bethesda, I think those guys wanted to leave. Like the shareholders were already like, yeah, let's get the head out of here. So I think they were able to,
Mhm.
because I remember even seeing Xbox. Apparently, they were supposed to. They thought they were going to pay like an extra 2 billion. I believe that's what like they marketed Bethesda at, but they got it for cheaper. So clearly, the studio guys were looking, the shareholders were looking to leave. The problem with CD Projekt Red is that I don't know if that's true. I don't know if, because the owners are gamers, right? And I think
Mhm.
for them, The Witcher being such a success, as a third party, and Cyberpunk already being seen as a third party, I don't think they're in the mood. I don't think they're willing to sell. I think they actually probably believed in Cyberpunk as well. So they were like, "Well, listen, if we sell it to you now, like we're pretty sure Cyberpunk is going to go up in much value." So no, but realistically, it's Microsoft. Like, listen, they can buy you out. So if that was the case, then 100%, I would have purchased CD Projekt Red, and I would have had Cyberpunk Lockdown as a next gen exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. Um, I think,
Yeah, like
and also with obviously purchasing Bethesda as well. And I might have had to interfere with Bethesda a little bit more. I would have made Deathloop exclusive. I would have made Ghostwire Tokyo exclusive, because even though those games weren't going to really bring in new console players per se, it builds the cadence of exclusivity to the
mhm.
platform. And I think that's a good vibe to have overall.
Mm. So, like, no, like, yeah, I think that's solid. I just want to get to the chat and some of the things. Rachie dropping some truth bombs here. I would have done what was promised, a game a quarter, and if it fails, I would buy a huge game for the quarter. That's it. I mean, Jeffy said exactly the same thing, Richie. It's not rocket science. And this is why I always just have this feeling that they didn't even try. Because when they were busy with these acquisitions, there were long gaps and periods where Phil had nothing for you except we'll get it next time. We'll get it right next time message. And I'm like, you guys are not serious about winning this. Like you're not showing commitment and urgency. And they had a huge time period, Raichi, in the beginning of the generation from about 2020 to about 2022, where they were hot. Like first of all, they had a very nice lineup of PC ports and other smaller games that were hitting, that were doing so well. And the one thing that they didn't have was exclusives. If they had launched with strong exclusives, even third party exclusives like Cyberpunk, look, you don't have to make, you could work around. When I say exclusive, there's ways, like for instance, even if you could just make Cyberpunk timed exclusive, that would really fuck with Sony's prospects around that period. Because again, if even like with the marketing, who was the marketing lead when it comes to Cyberpunk between Xbox? I think wasn't it Xbox?
They had the marketing rights, yeah.
But I could barely ever tell because of the fact that the game was given equal real estate everywhere because of Xbox's almost non-aggressive approach when it comes to marketing. I'll give you an example. I don't know if this works like this everywhere. Whenever Sony has marketing rights for a game, you go to every mall, every billboard, it has the Sony logo and it has the game on it aggressively. You would think that game is an exclusive if they have marketing rights. So I would have worked out some sort of deal, whether it's a timed exclusive deal, timed DLC, or whatever, but something that makes the Cyberpunk experience better on Xbox. So now, if I could go back a little bit further, if I could go back to 2018, I think 2018 would be a nice time to be able to actually secure a studio like CD Projekt Red. And again, you never know what Xbox had first dibs on because of the fact that most of the time they've turned down a lot of these things. So I would have had gotten into those talks with CD Projekt Red to make sure that the Xbox platform has the best Cyberpunk experience and similar games that are that big. But at launch, Xbox should have at least had minimum 7 heavy exclusives, whether it's third party exclusives or first party exclusives. That's what should have been available. And again, another thing I don't understand why Xbox never did is that some of the games that they're working on, they could have actually hired third party studios to assist in finishing them and just contracted them out. So, but they chose to just give people 10 years to finish projects that are never going to come out. Okay. So, Richie goes on to say, I would go to China and ask all the gotcha developers, look, I have a cloud infrastructure, put your game on my platform. That way people will play Genshin. Wow, I've never heard of that, Richie, and other via cloud. Absolutely. So that's another thing. Again, with your cloud push, Tai, what games has Xbox put out to say this is our cloud push using these, gacha games or these mobile type games that can be played on cell phones? Has Xbox had any deals like that you know of?
No, so they haven't done anything with cloud really. Cloud was just at the end of the day just another way for people to kind of get in. They were probably looking at to see if they could do something with the cloud in terms of offloading the tech to make something
Mhm.
unique. But I don't think any developer was really there doing anything crazy, and I think they probably just didn't have someone around internally as well who was really pushing it. But from an accessibility point of view, cloud was good. I think one of the mistakes that they made with cloud is it seems that they chose to go for a wide push. So
Mhm.
they included they input the Xbox One S blades, which from a um which from a spread point of view allow them to actually have more blades into the cloud, so more people could access it as opposed to
Yeah.
something maybe a bit more powerful like the Xbox Series X and S, which would have gave better performance. At the time you could make an argument that like they were trying to grow cloud as fast as possible, and for example GeForce now had issues with some people saying we can't get in, and GeForce was basically telling people like, yeah, we're not ready, we don't have enough servers for you guys. So you could say Xbox was able to kind of penetrate the market a lot faster than anyone else. Was that a good strategy? Meh. I think the problem with that is that it made sure that the cloud wasn't great quality. So people who would have
Mhm.
been converted didn't end up converting. I think it was better to probably, because if you're interested in cloud, you're going to be interested in cloud. End of story, right? You're always going to wait for it to come, and then when it came, you're going to get it. So I think GeForce did it the right way, and Xbox probably messed up there as well. But from a gaming perspective, there's nothing really to do. I think the only thing you could have really done here is, and this goes to the problem because remember it was a 1S blades, is if you had a PC version of a game that clearly could not run on the console, like maybe 5,000 enemies on screen, with some crazy 5080 graphics card, and then you could tell people like, hey, listen, you can play the cloud version on your console or on your mobile phone and do things that your console can't do. Then I think that would have made people think. One of the biggest push for cloud gaming was actually Cyberpunk, because when the Xbox One and the PS4 couldn't run it, people wanted a way to play the game because that was a game that was a unique selling game that could sell consoles. And what people did is they actually went and checked out Stadia just so they could play the game because they didn't have a PC that could run it, and it became a good marketing push. Now, unfortunately, Sega did it. No, Sega, sorry, Stadia, Google didn't really utilize that strategy really well. And in the end, it wasn't marketed properly, but it was for the cloud community. It was for some people. Some people came out like, yo, I got into this because of, Cyberpunk. This is dope. This works really well. So Xbox didn't have anything like that, unfortunately. Um, so I would say that's the only problem with with their cloud push. But the rumor is, that the Helix blades will be used next gen, and it could be as good as GeForce now. Who knows? But that is the rumor that they're gonna obviously switch up the blades, and cloud is gonna get much better.
You one would hope so, but again, like I think cloud is a secondary thing. It's not your primary thing. But I just
Mhm.
think it's also you need actual games associated. Like these not just the access to the Xbox ecosystem to cloud, but you can play these on Xbox. What do they call it? Xbox Now. This is
Mhm.
an Xbox Now game. So
Yeah.
and have games like, for instance, a lot of these gotchas that Richie is talking about being available there. If I could go back to 2023, I would skip ABK and go full $100 Series S. I also would not. I would never do. Hindsight being 2020, I wouldn't do the ABK thing at all. Actually, I think that really hastened the decline that we got to right now. And I think that would be the biggest game changer is if you don't buy ABK, because you still have all the leverage and not as much pressure from Microsoft. And again, I mean, how much was that from Microsoft? That was like what, 70 billion?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you literally don't need more than 2 billion to sustain, like, let's say 2 to 3 years of like output. Actually, no, that's still way too much. Let me say 4 years worth of output. You could do that. People have done it with less. And I just feel that like there was a gross overreach, and I don't think they really had a plan for it. I think it was opportunistic. It was right for the moment, and I'm sure Bobby Kotick wanted out and played his hand to make sure that he had either Phil or Satya's ear, and they bit. But I wouldn't go for it. I think, to me, that is what actually was the end of Xbox as we knew it back then, was that ABK deal. So in my timeline, there is no ABK deal. Instead, we leverage that money to buy games like, or support studios that are making games like Dawn Walker, and all these games that have come out to sort of blow people away. The one thing I would do, going back to that time, is I would definitely get someone like a Shoe to be part and parcel of the team. You need a gatekeeper. You need someone that is going to basically go to these studios and hold them accountable, and look at the finances, look at like the numbers, and see if people are actually making or meeting their, like, whatchamacallit, their deliverables and their metrics, etc. I think that was the biggest thing that's missing. There was no one holding the studios accountable. There was no one going to the studios checking if people were meeting deadlines. To the point that there's so many games that miss deadlines. Even the games that came out broken, like Redfall, they all missed their initial deadline. So yeah. So I think we're all, in terms of like what would save Xbox or what would have done that would have made a difference, we're all in agreement, Richie. I think we're all more or less on the same page when it comes to that. Now the question is, and I'm gonna put this to you guys: how much of a difference do you think that would have made on Xbox's bottom line? Would that have changed the picture significantly from where we're sitting right now, where it seems like, of course, like we have Asha Sharma and they want the re-up, etc. But would they even need to re-up if they played those cards? Ty?
You asked me a question, or were you talking to Rachie?
No, I was talking to Rachie, but I'm gonna forward it to you to say, if, for instance, things like you had like a Shoe in charge of overseeing the studios and their output, you didn't buy ABK, you bought specific titles that are third parties to fill the gaps in your in your library. Do you think the picture would look different today than it does?
Yeah, I think it would. I feel like they might have still had to go third party. Like they'll still, I think everything still happens regardless.
Why though?
Because I don't know if they have. Because I'm trying to even think about like what titles could they have made timed exclusives that are coming out.
Like your Daywalker, Dawn Walker. There's like a lot of games I could have put in. Like,
no, but you see, so here's my thing with that. Yeah, but you see, all these titles are coming out in 2026. I think the issue is that,
so you mean in 2024?
My issue is that in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, these are the 3 most important years that tells you they're gonna go like multi-platform or not. So the titles need to come out this year.
Okay, I'm gonna have a look what came out from third party. But go ahead, continue. I'm just
so we can have a look at like what came out in 2021, 2022, 2023, and maybe even 2024 to some extent. And the question would be, what titles would they get that would be, timed exclusives, maybe not even timed exclusives, that would change the outcome. I don't think there's many. I can't think of any title that would actually start pushing these consoles. I think even out of everything that I've mentioned, the only thing that's going to push these consoles is still Starfield, and that didn't do anything. You know, I
Okay,
think that's
so I'm
like
looking at the list here. Deathloop.
nope,
Deathloop
nothing.
is so like let's say because this is after they bought Bethesda, so they could have gotten Deathloop. Let's see, Psychonauts 2. Again, Psychonauts should have been exclusive. I don't know why they made it multi-platform. That was a stupid move from them.
No, but you
Excuse
see,
me.
Psychonauts would have done nothing. You know.
No, I don't think it would have moved the needle, but they should have made it exclusive. Saying, let's see, Hitman, Bravely Default, Monster Hunter, Back for Blood. But look, again, those years they had good games. Ty, I'm looking at their output. They were no lacking games in 2021. They had the very good output. They had Forza 5. They had Halo Infinite. That was a good year for them. They could have added to that library. But that was not a year that was dry for them. I think 2022 is where the problem started. But 2021 was good for Xbox. Let me say Xbox releases 2021. Let's look at the games that they released. And they made a difference because that was their biggest year this generation, if you look at sales in America. Because they won, don't forget, the market that matters the most, which is the US. They were actually neck and neck with Sony the first 2 years, which is 2020, 2021. And then the slump started in 2022. So to answer your question, actually having games, just their games, they were doing the job. Let's see, Xbox games in 2021.
So Fuzzy, we were doing like a little like if you could go back in time and change things up in Xbox, what would you have changed? Obviously you wouldn't buy Activision Blizzard. Reggie says he wouldn't buy ABK. Ushers wouldn't buy ABK2. Rich says he would focus on some kind of Inquisition department, and the job would be to, find out why games like Wukong is on Xbox, Hi-Fi Rush, etc., and why Hi-Fi Rush has better shadows on PS5. So it would be like a, make Xbox the best place to play kind of situation. I was like, I get what these guys are saying, but I also believe that I don't think there's anything that they could have done that was going to shift the consoles. I think they could have done something to sell more consoles, but nothing that I think would have stopped them from going down this pathway of going multi-platform.
So look at this. This is what they had in 2021. This is why they were the number one publisher, I think, 2021, 2022. They released Halo Infinite. They released Forza 5. They released Psychonauts 2. They released Age of Empires. They released Flight Simulator. They released the Medium. They also released a special version, an expansion pack for Sea of Thieves and State of Decay. And those games made a difference. Those games, even though a lot of people will say, well, like, who's going to play Age of Empires? Like, it made a difference to the slate. That was a year everybody praised the Xbox for the Series X and S, and we were looking forward to what's coming next. The flop was 2022. Let me see what was in 2022. Welcome in Fuzzy. I didn't even see that you were there. Sorry, I'm on another page. I'm just like reading off these titles for Tai. This is the year where this was look, dude. Guess what they had in 2022? As Dusk Falls, Grounded, Scorn, Pentiment. This is the year that killed Xbox.
No, but the question isn't what did they have. The question is what was out there that they could have timed exclusive or they could have purchased.
Let's have a look in 2022.
Like, like what third party game was out there that could have timed exclusive that also would have paid
big third party titles? Guys, what do you think?
Fuzzy said this game of the year.
Guys, think 2022. What games were out that Xbox could have money had it? Let's discuss. If you were Xbox,
Hogwarts Legacy marketing. Yep, that's what Richie says.
Yes. Why not get? What about Hogwarts Legacy exclusive?
Yeah, so Hogwarts Legacy is one game that I'll say that if they go as an exclusive, that would have shifted consoles.
Dude, Taye, I've got news for you. 2022 is a year where they could have just gone wild with their wallet. First of all, they could have gotten Ghostwire Tokyo because they own the studio. That could have been exclusive, and they could have
No,
done
that would
something.
have sold anything.
Okay, I'm just saying, just to
Yeah.
bolster the library, right? So
Mhm.
that you have a game every quarter, whatever. Elden Ring, early Feb.
Mhm.
Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, Dying Light, another huge game. Tiny Tina, as whatchamacallit, Wonderland Adventures, another huge game because it's a Borderlands game. So just those three, just the top, those top three: Elden Ring, Lego, and Dying Light. Huge franchises in gaming, 10 million plus sellers.
So I think Elden Ring would have worked for sure. I think you're right. 2022, if they had got Elden Ring as an exclusive, that would have shifted consoles for sure, and then that would
Dying
have
Light,
added to the momentum from the previous year, 2021.
I think Dying Light is a huge get.
I don't think it sells consoles, but I get you. I think it adds to the momentum, so that's good. Yeah, you're right.
Cool. Other games, major third party was Gotham Knights. Oh,
No,
look at this. A Plague
Atomic
Tale
Heart.
Requiem, which was not exclusive, but it came out that year.
I think that
Um,
shifts. I think that adds some momentum, but I don't think it adds like it brings in
Callisto Protocol.
momentum.
Yeah. So let me see, because this list doesn't seem complete. Let's see. There were 48 games that came out that year. So, but like you see, there's something to work with here. There's a
No,
lot to
there is.
work with.
There's a lot to work with.
Instead,
I
they
agree.
got Xbox went and got Crossfire X as a freaking exclusive.
Mhm.
So, I'm sorry, dude. Like, there's like almost self-sabotage involved in the decision making. Out of all the games that you have, dude, like out of all the games that you have to pick from as an Xbox guy, why? What possesses you to go pick Crossfire X? Jesus. Oh my gosh. Um okay, Evil Dead, Gran Turismo was PlayStation. Dude, why is Final Fantasy? I know they still had their deal with Sony, but I don't think Xbox fought. No. This is another Final Fantasy. This is Stranger's Paradise or some shit. Stalker 2 was supposed to release in 2022, but I think it came out later, did it not?
So I think if you get Final Fantasy, if you get Elden Ring,
But that's
those
another
two.
Final Fantasy. It's not Final Fantasy 16. It was that remake that wasn't great.
Okay, I mean, listen. Even if you get Final Fantasy, I think it adds to the momentum, right? And I think
Okay.
and I think
So
it kind of sells.
Oh,
So what I'll say here is you're right. In 2022, if Elden Ring was exclusive, and they probably got Dying Light 2 as an exclusive, maybe even Final Fantasy as well. Like I think that adds to the momentum. So yeah, okay, I'll agree there.
okay.
And they need to top it up in 2023.
Okay, cool. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just getting too excited here. So now I'm seeing something else. Do you know that Arc Raiders was supposed to be released in 2022?
No.
And do you know who develops Arc Raiders? It's Asobo, a studio that works very closely with Microsoft in the past. If I'm a guy from, like, I'm looking at this and saying, dude, we are, we winning right now. We're killing it. We're crushing it when it comes to live services. A live service like Arc Raiders could look very good in our library, even though it released like a good 3 years later. Because like this was 22, so it was heavily delayed. Remember they announced Arc that never came out with Vin Diesel?
Yeah.
Callisto Protocol. Do you think Microsoft buying Callisto Protocol and maybe helping? I suppose Microsoft is not the best studio to do that.
No, but the problem with Callisto Protocol, I didn't move units either.
No, it didn't, because it was broken at launch, basically. So Hogwarts Legacy, I think, to me, would have been one that I would have courted and looked at very carefully because of the franchise and how lucrative that franchise is. But like, again, marketing went to Sony for this even. Then you have Layers of Fear. That's not really big. So yeah, so I think we've named a couple. So yeah, I think and again, I think we can sort of like roll this forward. And yeah, they look, they could have built momentum. That's all I'm saying. They could have built momentum, and it could have kept them in the game and kept them competitive. It doesn't mean that they're going to beat Sony. It just means that they will beat at least the Xbox One in terms of overall performance and where they will finish this generation.
Mhm.
The Series X and S will finish stronger, and they will never have to go third party for any reason if they just keep the momentum up.
I think with Elden Ring, there's a fair shout there, but I don't know if that's enough still. Because I think
What?
I don't know if getting Elden Ring as an exclusive is enough to sell them from going third party.
Elden Ring is one of the best-selling games this generation, Tai.
I think it's sold like about 20 million units, yeah.
It's about almost 30 now.
So I think the thing with Elden Ring is that, well, while I do think it sells some consoles, I don't know if it for example, I would always say this: Spider-Man will sell more consoles than Elden Ring. God of War will sell more consoles than Elden Ring. Last of Us will sell more consoles than Elden Ring. Elden Ring was a game that I think people were willing to buy because everyone was talking about how good it was. But I don't think people were willing to go buy a console to go play a game that's supposed to be difficult and hard.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think like the hardcore gamers who loved, like for instance, games like Elden Ring and played them on PS4 will decide to get an Xbox instead of buying a PS4 if they like,
No.
for instance, those like games. They
No.
like Sekiro and all those type of games.
No. I don't think so.
Okay. I think
I
it would have
think
been
I
a huge
no
change.
because one of the things you've noticed with Elden Ring is that people were buying the game on impulse a lot because everyone was talking about how good it was and how great it was. And I think a lot of casuals purchased Elden Ring based off that, right?
Yeah.
And because whenever you have casuals there, you need to be very careful because they're not really loyal and they just kind of do things. Elden Ring is the kind of game. I'll give you an example. Mario Kart sells consoles. Last of Us sells consoles. I mean, Last of Us 1. God of War sells consoles, right? Zelda Twilight Princess sells consoles. Halo in the past sold consoles. Elden Ring will sell consoles, but I don't know if it sells more. I don't think it sells more than Spider-Man. I don't think it sells more than
No,
God
I mean,
of War or Last of Us, right? And I think what
yeah,
Xbox needs is not just like a device that's going to sell maybe a good few consoles here and there. I think they need something a little bit more than that. They need a cadence of devices, or sorry, cadence of games that are going to sell
correct.
multiple
Yes,
consoles.
correct. So you're not gonna just rely on them, of course. And of course, like, and I'm saying, court for games like Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
make
so for example, I think Hogwarts probably sells more consoles than Elden Ring.
Again, like for me, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is the momentum that you're building up
Mhm.
as Xbox,
If,
having those games
if we
as
say
time
now that you get
exclusives.
Elden Ring in 2022 and some other like time exclusive games or
Mhm.
games that are yours, and you market that really well, and then you get Hogwarts Legacy in 2023.
You're
And
sending
then
a clear picture that
mm,
the Xbox is the place to play these games.
yeah, I think with Elden Ring and a Hogwarts Legacy, I think you're in a position where you're bringing in a lot more revenue. And I think it's a bit more sustainable. The problem I think you're still going to have is your 2024 is going to be a flop, right? So and so is 2025.
Huh?
So you need
No,
more
but we haven't
titles.
checked what's in 2024 and 2025 that we can buy.
Okay, yeah. So if we're doing it this way, then I think
Exactly.
you
Every year
can.
we can buy, because that's what Sony does. Sony has, like, from their first party, they've produced like almost nothing outside the first 2 or 3 years of
Yeah,
the generation. They've just been producing third party, third party, third party, third party. And
yeah,
all you're doing is you're competing with Sony and you're going after games that you know are going to hurt them. So we can do this for 2023. We can do this for 2024.
yeah. Richard says 2022 was the year Phil was applauding Sony nonstop. 2023 was the year Phil was crying sorry nonstop.
Exactly. Because he had nothing for you. Like, and for me, I don't understand. You're buying studios for tens of billions, but you're not showing the consumer base any return on the promises that you've made in the past. To me, that, like, I would rather, if you gave me a choice, spend 8 billion on Bethesda or spend 8 billion on procuring games that are going to carry the platform, to having a good stance within when it comes to market share, I would choose the latter.
So I think something to be wary of about, like, I don't, yeah, you're right. For Hogwarts Legacy, Elden Ring, etc., like Xbox days, and
Hmm.
something to be wary of. And I think this is a problem is that Sony relies on these third party studios, but they use that to buffer their first party games. I think unless Xbox changes their first party output in terms of quality, um, they're playing a losing,
Yes, of
maybe not
course.
even a losing game per se, but they're playing a game where Sony is still better than them at.
Okay, so again, I've played that card back in 2018 where I went and hired like a shoe. In fact, if it was up to me, I would not have Matt Booty running that department alone. I need someone else who's not as Lexi Daisy as Matt Booty when it comes to game development. I need someone that's going to be hardcore when it comes to quality assurance. So when it comes to our own games at Xbox, since we've made this investment and have this player in place back in 2018, our library should be coming along well. We should not have the catastrophe that we did because no one was paying attention and no one could explain why a game like Redfall could release with with no red alarms within the studio because the guys that made the game wanted it to fail. Uh, they made it clear that, like, listen, we knew this game was doomed from the start. We just hoped that Xbox would pick up on that, but the fact that Xbox couldn't pick up on that to me just shows the ineptitude and
Yeah.
lack of care when it comes to that.
Yeah, no. I agree. I think in this sense, then if we're changing the first party output and we're getting these timed exclusives, which is it's interesting because they could have done that, like instead of like even acquiring studios, they could have like done it this way. And maybe some studios that I won't have bought Double Fine, I won't have bought
I also wouldn't.
Compulsion,
Same.
um, Ninja Theories. You can buy Ninja Theory, you just need to manage them. I think that's it.
Yeah.
In X, I
Yeah.
still would have purchased because I think they're gonna come good. I still would have got Obsidian, just manage them better. But like I think
Yes.
Obsidian still
Correct.
they still gave Grounded, they still gave even if the games didn't do well per se, they still at the end of the day, they get. I mean, Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 are still like an 8 out of 10 game,
Yep.
right? And I think they gave Xbox and Game Pass content, even though it probably wasn't worth it, but still content is content. So I would have just managed it better as well. But yeah, compulsion, and Double Fine, no. Um, I
Yeah.
still would have purchased Bethesda. I would have obviously loved to manage them a little bit better as well to make sure that we get a better version of Starfield. I
Okay.
don't know if you can do that with Bethesda though. It's a little bit tricky. You don't ruffle the feathers because the truth is, when you like, Sony did the same thing, right? When they bought Bungie, they paid so much money to keep all those talents there, and you didn't want to like piss them off. You were only able to change things with Bungie when they were failing, and you could
Yeah.
show that they were failing. But imagine Xbox coming in telling Todd Howard, "Yeah, go down from 1,000 planets to like 5." Like, I don't think
Exactly.
that's gonna fly with Todd. I think he's gonna take to get lost, and I think you're gonna cause a rift between Microsoft and Bethesda. So at that point, you probably just have to let him do what he wants to do. Um, Unfortunately, you might be able to like do certain things, give them more money to do other factors, whatever it is. But I don't think you can change core ideas like 1,000 planets. Unfortunately, but yeah, in this hypothetical, they definitely do better, for sure. I
Yeah.
think and I think everything stays the same because Sony is seeing them being aggressive, but Sony already saw them be aggressive. They bought Bethesda, they bought Ninja Theory, they already bought these studios,
Yeah,
and
but they
Sony
didn't do
wouldn't know.
anything with it.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
Sony wouldn't know that like Stellar Blade is going to be a huge, massive hit. They wouldn't know that Wukong is going to be crazy. And even if they did, Xbox just outbids them because they have way more money.
Correct.
Um, so I think in
Yeah.
this hypothetical, yeah, things would have been better. But
And
unfortunately, mhm.
and I just think the momentum, the online discourse, everything sort of like builds. If I From every generation I've observed, everything it's sort of like almost like a domino effect that ends up sort of affecting the outcome or the overall outcome. Once it starts rolling one direction, it typically is overwhelmingly so. It happened with the 360, it happened with the PS4. So once you get that momentum that you can edge out your competition, and I don't think they would have been fully able to edge out, but they would have been able to win back America. If they could win back the US, that's all they need. to sort of like have that sustainability, because they are historically they are weak everywhere else anyway. So America was the ground. America and the UK was where the battlegrounds were for Xbox, where they needed to win definitively.
Yeah. Like you
Rick,
says, go on.
mhm, go ahead.
Says the creative freedom sounds good on paper until you discover game devs want games for themselves and not for the players. And
That's
this is
correct.
so
That is
true. This
this,
is so true. But I think, I was even reading up on it. It was like was it Soundfall Interactive, the guys who make Club Obscure. When they went to Kepler told them like, no, do this, change that, and make it better, whatever it is. And then when they did, then Kepler was like, okay, yeah, we're good to go now. Now we'll never know how much Kepler changed or amended, or if they just made the game better, whatever it is. But that's an example of like a studio saying like, yeah, listen, you're doing this, but we want to do this, which is going to, obviously, we want to add to this, which is going to lead to more
mhm,
sales, and it's going to make the game overall better. I always give that example of Nintendo and Retro Studios, how Nintendo managed Retro. They're like, nope, you're not making this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're making Metroid. Okay, yep, and you're just going to make it first person. Yep, and it's going to be a platformer. Yep, do it this way. Yes, include the sky. Like, Nintendo basically managed them. And they eventually be like, yo, like, what the hell? Like, we want to make our own game. But at the end of the day, Metro Prime is a, 97 Metacritic. There you go. I'm pretty sure Nintendo wasn't involved in Metro. I'm sorry, in Metro Prime or Retro Studios. It would have been probably a 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 game. Like, that's just probably what it would have been. So you need the expertise of certain people to kind of guide you and to kind of stop you from your worst impulses. And when you do that, and everybody wins. Um, like, even going away from gaming, Dragon Ball Z, the Cell Saga, which everyone loves, it wasn't supposed to be that long. Um, the publisher or the head, they were like, make this longer. Toriyama probably didn't want to make it longer, but he was like, okay, fine, I have to make it longer. And then he made it longer, and then bam, the Android Saga and the Cell Saga like became one. They became a thing. So Cell was created because some
mhm,
suits wanted it to be longer. Now sometimes that,
yeah,
that, that doesn't work, but when it does work, like, everybody wins. You know. So there you go. Like, one of the best villains in Dragon Ball Z was pushed on by a suit.
yeah.
I can't even imagine the
Again,
Cell Saga. I can't even imagine Dragon Ball Z without like Cell. Like, if it was just the Android
yeah.
Saga, that would have just been boring.
I'm just trying to think. Cell came after who came after
It was
Frieza?
Frieza, Cell, and Boo.
Boo was the worst. So that's when I really started to check out.
Yeah, Boo
No,
was
no,
the
no.
worst.
Cell was the green thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cell was green.
He was the green. If I think about just how manipulative Dragon Ball Z Angles was, the fact that like every time we chop his head off, now he takes on a new form, and then that's gonna be another 3 weeks. It's like, come on, guys. But we watched. We were captivated. Anyways, if you want, like, we can either move on, or the last thing I was going to say is that the key component that we've not addressed here is how do you fix Xbox? I suppose you have to a certain degree. Chat, you guys can help us out here. How do you fix Xbox's internal studio issue? And this now is everything. Like, starting from the studios I bought, I think in 2018, which you've said that you wouldn't buy certain ones, all the way up until Activision Blizzard. What is your strategy in terms of management? Do you keep, for instance, who's this, Sarah Bond there doing what she does for Game Pass? Do you keep Mad Booty? Do you leave everything as is, or do you add people that you feel would be capable of being able to deliver for those studios? Ty? Okay, I think Ty stepped away. I don't know how you guys feel. How would you change Xbox's studio issue, or not issue, but studio? Well, actually, yeah, it is an issue. Xbox's studio situation where they bought studios back in 2020. No, they bought studios back in 2018, and those studios, the majority of them, some have produced some gems like Obsidian, But a lot of those studios, like for instance, the Initiative, nothing came of that except years of tens of millions of Microsoft dollars wasted with no product except like a fake demo that was produced. And then of course you look at like what is let's look at Bethesda. They spent 8 billion on that. We all know what the the output of that 8 billion was. How do we address that? How do we fix Bethesda? And while I wait for Taye, I'll sort of talk you guys through what I would do in that situation. First thing I would do is, again, I think it's so important. So many expertise are sitting out there when it comes to gaming who have managed studios, have managed projects to completion. And I think you need to get those guys involved with the managing of the studios. Even if you have Matt Booty, give Matt Booty a second who's going to a second in charge or second in command, who's going to actually be going to studios, not just freaking Minecraft. Going to other studios, making sure that they're profitable, making sure that they meet their deadlines. That's all you need. It's just someone to hold them accountable and to cut any studio that we see is not producing anything for us. Also, what I would have done is I would have been just like Taye said, there's a lot of studios I would have never bought. I would have focused on buying studios that can give us viable product within the next 3 to 5 years. This is from 2018. Reggie said Obsidian got saved by a silver bullet grounded. Absolutely. But that's not the only silver bullet that Obsidian had. After that, it was all wasting money. Look, you could argue that Outer Worlds 2 was wasting money. But again, I think if you had a better manager, if you had a better how can I say, if you had someone who had a good eye for what works and what doesn't work in the AAA space, they would have told you that you were wasting money with Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed. Ty, did you hear my question?
You said how would they have improved with the game management?
How the studio management. I think that's the last aspect that we have not dealt with, is that because that's the biggest weakness to Xbox has always been the studio management. How do you fix that? You're back in 2018. You can identify that you've already had, because again, the writing was already on the wall. This is not a problem that Phil did not know they had. And ironically, Ty, which is funny to me, is that Phil was head of publishing when they were hitting all the time. When they had an excellent launch lineup for the Xbox One, despite the negativity surrounding the Xbox One. So he's a guy that you would think would understand how, what the sort of games you need to have, in terms of quality, in terms of publishing. So how do you fix that? Because I think the problem is evident, in my opinion. It's always been Matt Booty. And the fact that his focus is very one-sided in terms of the studio management. So how do you address, you're back in 2018 and you can see that, damn, look at the Xbox One. We've only released one Halo game this entire generation, 2 Gears games, and I think 2 Forza games. There's nothing else from our output. Now we're getting the support from the company. We've got the Xbox One X out, so we're building momentum. So what do you do during that time to sort of make sure that your studios pay off in 2022, 2023?
Yeah, so for this situation here, there needs to be a deeper look at accountability. That is the key word here, right? And I think something that I mentioned to you earlier, and I sent it to you, was that like Xbox is looking to hire someone who's looking to deal with the finance portion of their games. So when I heard that there was an accountability margin of 30%, the first thing I said was like, yeah, cool. About time. Now you got to make games that people actually want to play, not games you want to play. This is the accountability. And if you don't do it, then you get shut down. So, and that made sense to me. And obviously I was hoping that, the management at Xbox would tell these studios, they're like, well, we don't think your decision is going to make 30% or close to 30% or 25 or 24 or 20, whatever the hell it is. Therefore, we're not greenlighting this title. In fact, we're just going to tell you to do something else. That's what I was hoping for.
Hmm.
Now, when the rumors came out that they kind of relax on the margins, that didn't worry me too much because I was like, okay, that's there's gonna be less pressure now, right? Um, just a quick one. Rachel says Obsidian got saved by the silver bullet grounded. I thought that it
Mm.
was all wasting money. And the funny thing is, like, that's Obsidian is an RPG studio, but the game that saved them is a live service game. Like, it's a multiplayer
Exactly.
live service game. Like, that's so
Exactly.
bizarre.
And it's
Like,
not though. It's not though, because think BioWare. BioWare, like, and this is why I think BioWare was so ahead of its time. They knew that if they wanted to continue to have the freedom that they wanted within EA, they needed to produce something that is going to be like a live service game that's going to just print money because of the experience with Knights of the Old Republic, the MMO, so that like EA can get off sort of like scrutinizing their creative projects. The problem is all the leadership sort of like left before, or like that whole thing sort of fell apart. But they had that vision to say we need something, and I think Mark Dara has said this. We need something that we're going to put out today that's going to pay the bills, so that we can focus on being creative with the stuff and build the games we want to build. So I think obviously look at like even now when we're counting down the studio, which one did you want to stay? Which one did you say can stay?
mhm.
It's Obsidian. So it's I think, and again, Obsidian and BioWare have a lot of DNA in common. So they did that. I think that was super intentional from them, and they were sort of like thinking that way, that we need projects that are going to buy us time. We need projects that are going to, if we have one failed game, we know that it's not the end of the road because we still have this thing that's bringing the company money. And that's the sort of thinking that you need from your studios. They can't just expect Microsoft to just keep fitting the bill. You can't have a studio like who's this Ninja Theory working on a game since launch, zero output. Meanwhile, all they're doing is just they costing you money. Look, I understand that they did some motion capture stuff for other people, but you need a little bit more than that, in my opinion. And you need every studio to sort of be
Mhm.
self-sustaining. Like every studio. And again, Ty, if you remember, in the beginning of this generation, they did a lot of that. There was a battle royale game that didn't take off. That was first party. I don't know if you remember it. That was a Game Pass exclusive.
Battle Royale game that was Game Pass Xbox
It was like
exclusive.
a character shooter, and they were very close because this was before Marvel Rivals. It just didn't work because it wasn't a very, I don't know, like I just don't think they marketed it very well, and I just don't think they had like an audience. And the problem was also the character design with that game. Jeez, guys, do you remember that game, Reiji, Fuzzy? There was a battle royale game with like a chicken girl and a girl in a wheelchair, an overweight girl. I can't remember what the name of the, but that was a good idea. Again, that was them doing the right type of thinking. Put a live service game on Game Pass and try and grow it and make free money. Am I the only one that remembers that game?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, man. I
Um,
really don't know.
I'll
Yeah.
find the game I'm talking
But
about.
to
Anyway,
go to the point with the finance thing, like so they're hiring someone new now for the finance, and the job spec is basically the senior finance manager studios expense lead on our Xbox first party studios by becoming a subject matter specialist on studio expenses, partnering with our accounting and royalties team to ensure accuracy and alignment, and collaborating with studios. As our first party expense lead, you will focus on optimizing our gross margin and accountability margin, as well as lead the centralized work of allocating our central expenses and managing the balance sheet. The role will engage in extensive cross group collaboration across our team of gaming, finance, controllers, accounting, marketing, central finance teams to drive margin growth and profit loss optimization. What this tells me, and what me and my friend were talking about, was that it seems that each studio now will now have their own balance sheet and their own profit and loss systems in place, and that would also include their marketing. And whenever you want to maybe expand that, or whenever you want to do something, there'll be an accountability part to it. Okay, this thing you want to add, what value does it bring? How does it increase the profits of this game? I think that's the key thing here. not what you want to do, not what you think is nice. This thing, this mechanic, this thing you're adding, how does it affect the balance sheet from a profitability point of view? Will it increase the profits? If the answer is no, then the answer is no, you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You need to convince us, you need to give us samples, we need to see things. Everyone needs to be on the exact same page here. Because there's no way you're going to get another 7 years or 6 years to make an Avowed. You're not getting another 7 years to make it Outer Worlds 2. You want to make Pentiment? Okay, cool. Do it in 1 year with 10 developers or 5. You know what I mean? These are the kind of situations and things that you need to do to make sure that these studios are producing content that is adding value to the ecosystem, not value to the developer's resume. So when I even say resume, I mean no value to the developer's resume from a point of view of his ego. Like, well, I got to make the game I wanted. You know, I was watching an interview of the guy who was making not the Elder Scrolls game, the game that damn, what's it called again? The game that Xbox canceled, the live service game, the looter shooter. And you were saying how like, oh, it's gonna be an amazing game, it's gonna be all these kind of things. I'm like, brah, 7 years in development and another potential like 3 years, 10 years in development for a live service looter shooter. Like, how do you know it's gonna be the hit? And I'm thinking like, looking at Xbox, like, no, you see that this game should have been, something should have been done about this game a long time ago. You know, and they didn't. So I think it's this kind of situations. Everwild 10 years in development. You know, Perfect Dark 7 years in development. No, like no, this is not sustainable for at any point of view. You know, so
No, I
yeah.
agree. I agree. I still can't find this game. I'm not sure if it was Obsidian or Compulsion Games who made this game, but it was a great idea. But the problem is, it fell in the same sort of the same pitfalls as Concord. The reason you don't know about it because it didn't cost Microsoft any money, but it was a hero shooter, great idea, just poor implementation. And again, things like characters that were designed a little bit more for the audience would have made or would have saved them in that when it comes to that. So guys, yeah, so I think so we've discussed brand identity, we've discussed the impact on hardware sales, and I think we've discussed some differentiation. And another thing that's important here is that this is not a one-sided coin. I mean, we can look at the Sony side of it, and and that will paint a picture. But I think we all see that picture is that Sony's offering this generation has not been strong. Because if Sony, like, the only time this all works, Tai, and the reason I'm proposing this is because of how weak Sony's offering has been this generation, because they're so focused on trying to get live service off the ground. So you have a distracted Sony. So this gives you an opportunity to capitalize on their on their lack of focus on releasing banger after banger, that they have to rely on third parties. To the fact that to the point that someone did I think it was Eurogamer, they actually did a slide to show how many first party games came from Sony themselves this generation versus second party games that were exclusive on PlayStation that helped move the console. And it's a huge difference compared to the last generation. So by all intensive purposes, this should have been this should have been the generation for Xbox to make a comeback. All the things that we've seen in previous generations were all there. Your competition being weaker, not as focused, and you doubling down on what matters, which is, to your point, great games and consistent releases.
Exactly. And hopefully this balance part, it does it, because there'll be accountability. And I think what's the most important thing is that I've always said this every single time. The problem has always been the games. People can talk about the business, they can talk about Game Pass, they can talk about marketing, talk about all these things. They're completely irrelevant. And I always go back to what Strauss said, which is, he was dealing with the business side of things, and his second hand in command was dealing with the software side of things. And he said if the business succeeds, so he does his job well, but his partner fails at the software's point of view, everything fails. If the software succeeds, so his partner does the job he's supposed to do, and then he fails from the business side of things, he says the business still succeeds. But then he said the optimum thing to do is to have the business and the software succeed. And once you do that, you're winning. For the Xbox point of view, the software side was failing, and the business side was also probably maybe a bit iffy. I think that's what's led to this. So this accountability margin, this profit and loss situation, what it means is that you don't get to just make whatever you want to make. You have to make something that I or Kenwall or Oshus wants to play. And if that happens, you get sales. You get consoles being purchased. You get Game Pass subscriptions. And when all that happens, increases your revenue. When your revenue increases, you can reinvest in the studios and get more timed exclusives, which then leads to more consoles being sold, more games being purchased, and more of a higher profitability profit margin ratio. Like, none of this is that hard. It's actually quite simple. Like, the answer is quite simple.
Yeah.
Now, making the games part, you could say it's hard, but then that's when you go get somebody like a Yoshida to help you do that kind of part. But the actual answer to the equation is a lot simpler than many people think. I can't be playing, I can't be. You can't offer me Avowed, and the other guys are playing Ghost of Yote. You can't offer me, Scorn and Silent Hill, remake is an exclusive. You just can't do these things. You can't give me Psychonauts and Astrobot 2 Astrobot is there instead, right? You can't give me Outer Worlds 2 and Ghost of Yote is there. Like, it just doesn't work this way. I don't care if Pentiment is a 9.97 Metacritic, and you can say, oh well, it scored higher than Spider-Man 2. It doesn't matter. Spider-Man 2 is selling more consoles and it's selling more. Like, you need to make things that people actually want to play and buy, not what you've always dreamed about playing. I'll give you the perfect example, Oshus. When you were talking about superhero games, and I said, make my superhero game, make Wolverine, and you said, oh, Batman. I said, I don't like Batman. Yeah, and then you said, but Batman's gonna sell more. And I was like, you're right. Batman is the most popular superhero out there. So if you wanted to get an exclusive game, Batman is probably where you would go to counteract Spider-Man, right? Your rival doesn't get, Spider-Man or Batman, and you respond with Fantastic Four. That's not how this works. You know what I mean? Like, we could even look at it this way from a Disney point of view. Sony has Spider-Man, Wolverine, and apparently they have X-Men. And Xbox response to that from a Disney point of view is Indiana Jones and Blade.
Yeah.
That's not to say Blade isn't a good guy or a good whatever it is.
Or Indiana Jones for that matter.
But Blade doesn't compare to Wolverine, X-Men, and Spider-Man. Again, you're selling yourself short. And I'm looking at Indiana Jones and I'm thinking, this ain't it, bruh. And then you further hurt yourself because you don't make maybe a young Indiana Jones that's like Nathan Drake, when he's back in the days when he's a kid or whatever. You make an Indiana Jones game that is a adventure action game, which is more boring and not as sellable as an action and adventure game. And then you even further make it worse by making it a first-person adventure action game.
Alrighty,
Wolverine is a third-person game, which is the most popular option, and Spider-Man is a third-person game, which is the most popular option. I'm just thinking, this is the business. I don't think this is the gameplay side of things. This is the business side of things, because you could still make an Indiana Jones game, but the business would say, make Indiana Jones younger, make it more like Nathan Drake, make it some cool platforming, make some cool cutscenes.
Don't make it first person.
Don't make it first person. Make it third person action adventure. Have some nice, chase, all that kind of stuff. Like, do it this way, and then Indiana Jones can actually maybe make more sense than getting
Yeah.
Spider Man or Wolverine. But he said they
Give
just went for.
people what is it? Is it the Temple of Doom? I can't remember, but like it's one of those old timer movies. Well, I mean, I suppose they were made around the time when I was born, but like yeah, like people want a very specific sort of Indiana Jones experience, um, and I just don't think they were able to capture that with the game that they released. It felt very like modern Indiana Jones versus feeling like 80s Indiana Jones that everybody sort of fell in love with. And of course, I think the dude, the guy, who's it, Troy Baker, who plays Jewel, did a very good job in bringing Indiana Jones to life. But they could have, I think, they could have made the game a little bit more exciting. It wasn't as exciting as it could be. Welcome in, Kenwell.
Yo, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, good.
Yo, Fuzzy
Your
says,
audio is a little bit,
real
yeah.
quick, Fuzzy says,
Oh,
are you saying they need to make it Indiana Jones for the modern audience? Yo, you got me there. That
No.
one. I mean, I think that's all I'm saying. Yeah, for the modern
I'm
audience.
I'm saying the opposite of that. I'm saying make Indiana Jones for like that 80s Indiana Jones. I think that's what people wanted to see. Because that's the
I
exciting
don't think we
version
need
of
to see Indiana Jones at all.
Or that, yes, that's also
Yeah,
true.
agreed.
Like that's something that that's something that Jeffy said, is that like most of this generation don't really have any pleasant sort of nostalgia memories for Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure.
anyways, Kenwell, just to give you bring you up to speed. I don't know if you've been listening, but basically we've just been talking about trying to save. Well, the whole topic's about exclusives, and we sort of like did some fantasy, football booking for Xbox from 2018 up until now in terms of the things that you could have done that would have shaped Xbox differently today, so that they don't need to, number one, go third party, as well as don't need to be in a position where like you have to replace leadership again.
Yeah. I was listening on the car drive here.
So guys, in the back, the game that I'm talking about, this is the Battle Royale game I'm talking about, and it wasn't Obsidian, it was Ninja Theory who made this game.
This Bleeding Edge.
This is Bleeding Edge. This was the right idea because, and again, this is before like Marvel Rivals. Like they were on the money here. They just missed one or two tweaks. I played this game and I enjoyed a large part of it. It's just that I don't think the heroes are very appealing, for one, and the gameplay loop did get a little bit repetitive after a while. But it's the same as every other game like this. What is it? Hero, because it's not really a shooter, but it's a hero-based battle royale type of game. And this didn't take off, unfortunately, but this was a very smart idea. But like characters like this, a guy in a wheelchair thing, these are not characters that people care about, that that people want to play. So it's decisions like that I think tanked this. But this was the right type of thinking, because the reason a lot of people don't know about this game, because it cost Ninja Theory nothing to make, versus doing something like this and it turning out to Concord.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So I think we've rounded up that conversation pretty nicely. Taya, is there anything else that you think we left out there?
About the exclusive stuff, no, not really. I think we all kind of agree that a smart play for Xbox would be to make a Mario Kart like game with their IPs. That's gonna bring in numbers because you have Crash, you have Spyro, you have Banjo, you have Master Chief, you have Halo. Like they could literally make the best-selling Mario Kart game out there. From a Smash Bros. Perspective, do what Nintendo did as well. Go get Bandai Namco to help you make the game. They're great at fighting games.
I don't even think you need to go that far. Just give us Killer Instinct.
No,
and then
no. Because Killer Instinct,
Why?
sorry for calling you off. Killer Instinct isn't going to sell anything.
Yeah,
look, I don't think it's going to be a revolutionary game, but I think it'll sell well. I mean, like Killer Instinct did very well for
Uh,
the Xbox One.
no,
Um,
I'll say this: Killer Instinct is never going to sell consoles. Number
but this is what I'm
one.
saying, right? Very simple.
Mhm.
Killer Instinct, and instead, because again, you're targeting the Mortal Kombat. Because look at the audience.
Mhm.
You're targeting the Mortal Kombat and the Street Fighter audience,
Mhm.
and then on top of that, you make it a hero, like for instance, a hero brawler type game, in the sense that you have all your heroes there. Killer Instinct with the Killer Instinct roster, plus all the Xbox heroes. They used to have them, but like as DLC later on. But you make those available day one. You have Master Chief, you have Marcus Phoenix, you have all these other guys. If you need to bring in a car from Forza, you bring in a car from Forza. But my
No,
point is,
so I think from a marketing
I think there's a
standpoint,
market
I,
there.
I think it's good, but it's just fighting games are a little difficult because I feel like a lot of the fighting game community they need a well-established IP. I know Killer Instinct has been been around for a while, but I don't think it
Yeah.
resonates with. I don't think it's as strong as, of course, the main fighting games.
yeah, it's not going to pull many people in. That's number one. So
Okay.
what I'm saying here is actually, I think it's a better thing because number one, what you're targeting when you make a Smash Bros like game is you're actually targeting not just fighting fans, but you're targeting casuals. And I think that's what you really need. You need something that's going to sell copies, because you can bring out Killer Instinct and that's cool, I suppose. But a game with a Smash Bros like game in Master Chief, with the guys from Gears of War, Spyro, Crash, Banjo, Conquer, I think that's Xbox as well. Like that is going to sell way more, and especially because now you have the connection with Sega. You could hit up Sega and be like, "Yo, let's bring in Joker. Let's throw in Sonic." You could hit up Square, like you got a relationship with Square now. Let's bring in Square. Pragmata, let's bring in the Android guy with the Android girl. You could start reaching out to these developers and listen. They'll put their characters in your game because it's free marketing for them, right? So they're never probably even going to ask you for like a crazy fee. That's going to bring in more subscribers. It's going to sell more consoles. The casuals are going to love it. You market it to the kids as well. It's going to do more. And guess what? You can still bring in probably 10 characters from Killer Instinct, so you can still kind of get your Killer Instinct vibe. Because remember, party games are going to sell more than like a party fighting game is going to sell more than like a Killer Instinct kind of game. And as Ken said, it didn't really catch the fighting game audience. I think they like it, but I think if you actually make Killer Instinct, it's a game that has to be multi-platform. However, if you make a party,
I don't think so.
Yeah, it has to be.
I don't think so. Like, and I'll give you a couple of reasons why. Because again, the reason why Killer Instinct was so weird is because they sold it as a live service when it came out. It didn't like launch like a Street Fighter or a Mortal Kombat. It launched as a live service, and I think around the time the estimates were like it did like 2 million players at the time. But it was a very small project with a handful. Like the first roster had like 10 characters. The game sort of built up over the years through support. But it was just like the way that it was marketed that sort of like messed it up. The only reason I don't think your idea would work is because I don't think there's like the on Xbox you have your Smash Bros market similar to PlayStation, and the reason I say that is what happened to PlayStation Heroes, if that is such a lucrative IP for a more mature platform like Xbox or PlayStation. We never saw PlayStation Heroes outside PS3. They never tried to launch because it's just the audience that you're targeting is very different. They're more into a Tekken or a Street Fighter or a Mortal Kombat than they would be Smash Bros. I don't know. So I disagree with you guys on that one. That like I think there's a lot if you sell Killer Instinct correctly.
No, but I think you're also forgetting that. Sorry, Ken, go ahead.
I just want to say it just the reason why it's hard is we saw a recent example of this, the 2KXKO or something by the League of Legends people. That game came out and it flopped. So it's like a fighting game has to hit. Like it's interesting with this new Invincible game.
Yes, I was about to bring that up.
I think the IP people really like, so they're gonna give that a chance. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think Killer Instinct within the Xbox ecosystem, within Xbox fans, it's something that people are really craving for. I just don't think. I would rather them go with a Smash clone because, again, like what Ty was saying, it's just more casual. And I think the IP that Xbox has resonates with the fans a little bit more. Like, I would want to see, all right, let me just see Soap fight the Doom guy.
Yeah.
Let me just see that shit. So,
especially
so would you make it a
point
game
of view.
for? Sorry,
From an aesthetic point of view, there's so much you can do with a Smash clone. Like if you ever play Smash Bros, like the worlds colliding, and listen, you could do something that Nintendo hasn't done. You can make an actual story mode where you actually have AAA production. Like that's going to be great. Like Killer Instinct can't do anything. Killer Instinct is not going to.
There's nothing you can't do on Killer Instinct. That's the thing. Like you can literally, because of the fact that this is a franchise that's reinvented itself since the Super Nintendo. So for me, it's just a matter of like they sold it poorly. I if you asked me, I would say, give me Killer Instinct and I'll rebrand it as the Xbox IP fighter, and we will decide how to go about it. But I want to put that behind Killer Instinct. And again, Killer Instinct is just the name. But the only thing, of course, with Killer Instinct, it can't be a rated E for everyone type of game. Because again, you want to have Mortal Kombat type of... I would build Killer Instinct around... I would model it more towards the likes of like a hybrid of... what happened to Ty?
Yeah. Oh, there you
yeah, I think he dropped off. But I would model it more as a hybrid between Mortal Kombat and Smash Brothers. The only difference would be that it has to be a mature title with blood and fatality type finishes, over the top fighting, and you could do all the stuff that you guys are talking about just with the Killer Instinct name. I would do that.
You can't, because you can't include like Doom guy, Spyro, Crash in Killer Instinct.
You can't. Are you saying you can't?
I mean, you can't really.
Why?
Like Spyro and Killer Instinct?
I mean, again, like which IPs do Xbox players care about more? Like your Marcus Phoenix, your Doom guy.
I think what you're doing here, because you're doing something that I did, but I corrected myself straight away. I said, give me, a Marvel character like Wolverine or whatever it is. And your response was, but we're trying to sell consoles, Ty. We're trying to sell Game Pass and sales. And I thought to myself, like, okay, I want Wolverine, but you're actually right. Batman is what you need to do to compete against Spider-Man. So I'm saying, like, if you want to bring in consoles and sales, you have to go for the Smash Bros. You can't make a Killer Instinct is not going to sell. Like maybe some Xbox gamers might be happy with it. They might like it. But I promise you this: I ain't buying Killer Instinct, because if I didn't buy Street Fighter, I didn't buy Mortal Kombat. Why would I buy Killer Instinct? It's not going to catch my attention. But I will buy a Smash Bros. Xbox clone, 100%.
Again, like I just don't think that's the right. Because again, my question to you is like, why has Sony never made another PlayStation Heroes?
Because
if like that sort of battle. Exactly, and this was on like with Sony's IPs. Like, I mean, those IPs, are much more popular than Xbox's IPs. But I think the audience is not the right audience. Like Mario works because of the audience in the console, and I think that's something that you cannot ignore if you're going to be doing a Smash Brothers.
The reason why the Sony one didn't work out was because it just wasn't made well. They created a whole new team to make it, and the team wasn't. That's why I say go to Bandai Namco to make it.
Like, for instance, another example is Crash. What is it? The racing game. Game did well, but it didn't do any like gangbusters on Xbox, and on PlayStation it did okay. It was because again, I just think the audience, like the more mature audience, doesn't care for kart races as much on Xbox. But look, I could be wrong. But I just don't see that. I don't think there's evidence on Xbox to say that a battle royale. What do they call the Smash Brothers genre?
Fighting platform game.
Well,
put it this way. That's where it's going to sell way more than Killer Instinct anyway, 100%.
I would agree. I'll concede and say, okay, cool. It might sell more than Killer Instinct, but I don't see that there's a market for that. There's not enough evidence for me to say consoles like a PlayStation and then Xbox have a market for that sort of everyone
I
rated
think
E
the
for
pool. I
everyone
think the
type of
pool
game.
here is there isn't. You can make an argument there's not a market for like a huge fighting game fan, but there's nothing really out there like Smash Bros. And I think what we're trying to do here is court and grab people's attention. And I think when you have a Spyro game, when you have a Crash, so like a game with Spyro and Crash, and you market it as some kind of Avengers video game option, because that hasn't been done. You market as an Avengers video game option. I think the Japanese people see, the Jokers, they see the Final Fantasy characters, and they think, okay, let me check this out, because first of all, it has to be good, right? It has to be really good. And so once you do that, then I think they start to look at your platform. I think people in the West also start to look at your platform. Now, you might make an argument like, oh, so I'm going to do like 9 million, whatever it is. But I think that's a huge momentum, and that's something only you can do, right? I think that's important. Can Sony do it? I mean, they don't have the IPs. Sony's probably going to have to reach out to all these other developers for support. But your Xbox, like you're the biggest publisher. You should be making this game.
But
100%.
I could argue that Sony can do that today because they've got way better and more marketable IPs than Xbox.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. Like, I mean, we could just I think that's pretty obvious. Like,
no.
I mean, do you think more people want to play as Nathan Drake or Kratos than Doom Guy?
Well, okay. So you have Nathan Drake on Sony's side, right?
And you have I could just bring you the original lineup from PlayStation All Stars.
I think if PlayStation were to do it, it would be jarring as multiverses. But I see it more with the Xbox lineup of characters. I don't know. I see it more.
The Xbox characters, as Ken is saying, is probably more similar to Smash, because listen, you can have Nathan Drake, cool. That's a selling IP. You could have Kratos, cool, selling IP. You could have Aloy, I suppose, yeah, cool, selling IP. Okay, what else you got?
Robot Boy from whatever. You have the Sock Boy from Planet whatever. Yeah, I just think they've just got way more IPs that are actually people are aware of because they've actually had hit games in the last decade.
I feel like there has to be some kind of
drama.
There has to be some kind of cross function. Like, I can see Doom, easy Doom guy fighting Master Chief. Like, you could see that. It's like, all right,
yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Scooby-Doo versus Superman is just stupid. So
Spyro. What about Spyro?
Wait, hold on, wait. Let me jump on Ken's point right there. Would you rather see Aloy fighting Nathan Drake or Master Chief fighting Doom Guy?
Yeah, no, but that's fine. But like you saying that you want to make a game.
Wait, but we can even go further. The guy from Gears of War fighting Doom Guy or Master Chief.
But again,
or Master Chief.
Let me put this on, yeah. Would you rather see the legendary Crash Bandicoot fighting Banjo or Spyro? Like, these are legends. Like, who does Sony have? What kind of fighting lineup? Okay, Sony can say Astrobot. Astrobot fighting who? Fat Princess?
There's the Little Big Planet icon, dude. Like, I could give you a list of.
Okay. We could actually Little Big Planet. Okay, you're right. Little Big Planet.
There's a lot of there's a lot of things you're ignoring from Sony's.
Okay, fine. Give me a matchup. Little Big Planet guy fighting who?
No. Okay, I'll give you. Little Big Planet guy fighting the Extrabot robot.
Okay, do you
Kratos
see that?
fighting Aloy? I would love to rip Aloy's spine out with
first.
Kratos.
Do you think people want to see the Little Planet guy fighting Astrobot or Crash fighting Spyro?
Again, that's my opinion. Like, I would say yes. Probably a lot of more people want to see Crash fighting Spyro. Who wants to see Spyro?
I'm saying
okay, let me ask you this question.
I'm saying your opinion is correct.
Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is that, like, I don't think anyone wants to see Spyro fighting Master Chief, or Crash fighting.
But who wants to see Astrobot fighting Kratos?
Exactly. Like, that's why it flopped. That's exactly what I'm saying to you. Is that the battle royale Nintendo approach is not the right approach. You're either gonna take a mature approach where you use IPs like Doom, like Gears, like, with those sort of icons, and you don't put the childish things in and you make it a mature game like Killer Instinct. But if you're gonna make it a battle royale that's for everyone, and you're gonna have all these, like, you're gonna kidify Doom Guy, and you're gonna kidify Master Chief, and you're gonna make them all cute and cuddly.
I don't think you have to, though, because again, I just feel like the perfect example of this going wrong is multiverses. It has to, like, Nintendo. The reason why they're so lucky is the Nintendo universe. You can see all those characters pretty much jumping into each other's games. I think Xbox has that. I do think for the most part they have that. They're kind of more at the tail end of when Smash ran out of characters. So then they started adding Minecraft and Final Fantasy and shit. But I think for the most part, depending on the roster that they have, that they pick, as long as they don't go too wild, they can put people in the universe where it doesn't come off jarring. Like, I don't think it's crazy to have Master Chief fight Crash Bandicoot, because Crash Bandicoot, we know the dude is a scrapper. Like, I don't think it's out of the realm. Like, again, multiverses, I just think multiverses just did a whole bunch of shit just because they were like, oh, we have a whole bunch of IP, let's put them all in one game. But there's no synergy with it. There's no connectiveness with it. Like, again, so
how do you do that synergy?
So I think you just have a bare bones story. Something happened. There's like some master hand kind of figure that combines these worlds from Xbox or something, and then you put them in a game, and then they're fighting. Because it again, like what me and Ty are saying, I just feel like there's a lot of things that people see. I think this is a very meme-like game where you're seeing characters fighting each other, and you're like, what the hell? This makes no sense, but it kind of does. Like, you're interested in it.
Mm-hmm. And you could also take, like, and the characters that are a little bit maybe too different, like, if you want to say it that way, you can kind of, like, change them up a little bit, maybe make them a little bit more, like, artistically kind of fit the game. The key thing here is that people are going to want to see this kind of like multiverse clash, and and you have the IPs to actually do this. You're the one. Crash versus Spyro again is going to do better than whatever like Sony can do. Chief versus like whatever Chief versus Doom Guy. You also have the Wolfenstein franchise. You have you have Diablo as well. You have Call of Duty, Soap. What's the other guy's name?
But my question is, so, but like, how do you do it in a way that it doesn't come off silly? How do you have Soap fighting Crash?
No, but it's supposed to be silly, because that's what Smash Bros is. It's a fun, silly game to play.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not about the serious. It's not the tone that you guys
No, because don't forget, Snake is in Smash Bros as well, right?
I saw Fuzzy pointed that out, that Snake. But again, with Nintendo characters, all of them are not mature like characters. They all these silly for everyone characters. Like, Nintendo doesn't make mature games. Like, they don't have a Doom Guy, which the entire game is just about.
But my point is,
violence.
Put it this way: if you put Smash Bros on PlayStation, it sells millions. You put it on Xbox, it sells millions. That's my point.
I don't know, man. Like, if that was the case, then why has Sony not replicated Smash Bros?
Because they don't know how to replicate Smash Bros. They don't have the talent to replicate Smash Bros.
Nah, no way, bro. You cannot just
that's like me saying. That's like me saying, why didn't Sony replicate Sea of Thieves? Why didn't Sony replicate Forza Horizon?
But they're trying to do that, right?
The Legend of Zelda.
But they tried to do those, or they're trying to do something.
Yeah, I said they don't have the talent. But I'm saying, like,
they've
pursued it. They'll go to Bandai Namco.
But that's my point, is that, like, if Sony wanted to, they could go get a studio.
No, because remember, Sony was more interested in live service games. Remember, and Sony's bread and butter is what they know is this. It's AAA blockbuster games, right? So that's number one. Number two, the only reason why they went out of that is because they wanted to make money. So they went for live service games. Now they're pulling back from live service game, and they're doubling down on the AAA blockbuster games again. Sony isn't really looking to make a fighting game, because I don't think they think it's going to sell that well. Obviously they did it before and they didn't really work out. But if somebody comes in, with a foundation in the IP, and just give us your IP. Let's put our like the game's already made, right? But let's just replace our characters with your characters, which is actually what Sakurai did. He made the fighting game Smash Bros, but he didn't have the Nintendo characters in it. He just had random fighting guys. I think that were kind of like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, okay, make it. And then he swapped the Nintendo characters in it. Then he showed them, and they were like, "What the fuck?" But he's like, "No, but listen, guys, because we have Nintendo characters, going to sell more." Then
Okay.
Nintendo said yes.
So, but then why did? Because again, like the only Battle Royale game, and it's not the only one. I think there's Brawlhalla and all these other games.
Yeah.
But like the only game that I can think of that I played that was this type of game that has these kind of characters, it flopped eventually. Like, which is the what is it called? The one with the DC heroes, where you had Mickey Mouse, which is again was supposed to be what you're saying, a meme game where you can have Wonder Woman fighting whatever weird ass character from daytime TV, or Arya Stark from from Game of Thrones. And again, like as I'm saying, that's a very specific type of game, and I don't see it working as well for like what works for Nintendo doesn't normally work for everyone. Nintendo stuff is very specific, and for you to get it on your platform to work, like, and again, I would just like one example.
Brawlhalla has like over 100 million registered players, right? Obviously, it came out on the mobile phone as well and PC.
Yeah.
So it came out everywhere. So like obviously, but the fact that like 100 million people were like, oh, this game has all these superstars and Ezio and all this stuff, let me download it. But like Brawlhalla wasn't like, it's not a AAA blockbuster fighting game, right? So I'm saying that like if you can get 100 million people on mobile phones and consoles and whatever to even check out your game, and your game probably isn't that great or whatever it is, and people just check it out because of the IPs and because it was kind of fun to play on on the bus. If you can make a AAA blockbuster version of that that's equivalent to Smash Bros, and you market it as a multiverse video game, and you say here's a story mode that is dope and it has all these multiverse things and great acting and all these cool things, yeah, people are gonna definitely want to check it out. I would check it out 100%. I think even just for the curiosity point of view, people are gonna want to say like to see what's up. It's probably gonna do well on Steam as well if you put it there. Is it gonna lead to PlayStation players dropping their console to come to your platform? No, not really. But I think what we'll do is that like people might be like, yo, that Series S, it's quite cheap now, and they do got a few exclusive games, including that fighting game. And I got kids, and the kids want to play some of these games. Like, let me give it a shot. Like it's a very like 100% we do better than Killer Instinct, and it's a
I agree with you that it might, but like I'm just saying, well, you can't give me a metric as to like, okay, cool. Like just a case study. She's okay, cool. This type of game can succeed on this platform because we've seen other games like this.
The game I don't think it will. The game sells more than what Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or any fighting game will sell on Xbox.
I disagree with you. It will not outsell Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter
on Xbox.
On Xbox, it won't.
It will outsell Mortal Kombat on Xbox.
It will never. I disagree with you vehemently there. They're hands down. You can make the Killer Instinct case, but you can't make the case for Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Because again, I would just ask you to point me to one example.
Well, I mean, there's no examples because
that's my point. Is that there's absolutely nothing to go on. It's just your instinct to say, well, I think it worked on Nintendo
because this is a casual game.
Okay.
Like I think you're focusing on the hardcore here. I'm talking about casuals here. I'm saying casuals are going to buy this game.
I'm saying yes, probably. But I don't see them buying it on Xbox. This game.
I think we can't talk about Fortnite and Roblox having more users than Steam, which is Roblox is very casual and very childish, and then turn around and be like, well, no, like Mortal Kombat's gonna like. My question is like, why would Mortal Kombat sell more than a multiverse game that has like Crash and all these characters in it? Like I just don't see why would,
because a lot of these games are free.
Well, actually, hold on. Okay, because of the Game Pass effect, I guess you could say that like it won't sell, but I still believe it will sell.
I just don't think even if you don't put it on Game Pass, I don't see it.
Hold on, wait. Fuzzy said, Richie says Ushers believe we're all psychos who only like blood and gore. So that's number one. And Fuzzy also says,
true. I don't believe that.
Fuzzy says, I doubt Street Fighter does well on Xbox, which is true. Like fighting games don't sell as well on Xbox as they do on PlayStation. And I'll put it that like I think Xbox fans Xbox fans who are not fighting game fans will get this game. Like do you think everyone who bought Smash Bros, which is AKA like 30 million sales, you think they're all like fighting game fans?
No, they're Nintendo fans. That's my point. That's why that works. Is they're all Nintendo fans. Their
And
favorite
if you're an
characters in the
Xbox
game.
fan, and now you have your Halo, and you have all your Xbox IPs, and then you also have Dragonborn from Elder Scrolls, right? And then you also have Crash, which is from your history as a kid, and you got Spyro, and you got all these guys. And then, go further, go to CD Projekt Red. Yo, give us The Witcher. They'll say yes. CD Projekt Red.
In a kiddie multiverses game. I don't think anyone cares.
I don't know which, because all right, when you look at Smash, it doesn't look that kiddie. It looks like a teen. It looked like Fortnite, like a teen-rated game.
Yeah, you make it seem like it's some kind of.
It works for
Nintendo, man. Smash.
It works for
Nintendo. They still use guns.
Yeah, like look. It works for Nintendo. I just don't see it working.
Bro, all right. Asha comes out, right, for the Project Helix. All of a sudden, before she walks out, you get this cinematic trailer where you see Master Chief walking in like the desert or some shit. And then you see the Doom guy come out of nowhere. The fucking ground starts shaking and it just rises up. Like you see the platforms. Then they just start fighting. Then all of a sudden, goddamn Crash Bandicoot uppercuts Master Chief. This shit is going. I know everybody's reaction is going crazy at this point. And then they announce that you see the gameplay, and then you announce that this game is day one for Project Helix. You're not telling me that you're not getting PlayStation, Sony, and your own fans hyped for this. Like this would be the only time where Xbox games is like trending. It doesn't matter if you're not a gamer. Like you would know about this game. And that alone would have people coming over to the Project Helix.
Listen, even like Rachie in the chat is saying like, I'm not a Nintendo fan and love Smash. Fuzzy in the chat is saying I like Smash Bros and don't like any other Nintendo game. You just love taking L's, bruh. Like,
my man, like, I don't know. I disagree with, because again, you guys are not showing me data. You guys are painting me these nice sort of ideal pictures of like how this could go down and I'm just saying I don't see it for the audience, because there's nothing for me when I look at when I look at PlayStation specifically and I look at like Xbox's audience.
Quick question. Do you think let's say the next Mortal Kombat game is a Game Pass Day 1 game, right? Do you think that's gonna pull in more people than a Xbox Smash Bros game?
If it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, both of them on Game Pass.
Yeah, no, I think it will. I think Mortal Kombat easily pulls in more people because you've got a built-in audience.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like because again, like I can look at the data and say, well, there's a huge market.
I think this is the thing. Like, I think you focus on the industry being on you.
No, I'm just talking about data now. I'm saying give me data to suggest what you're saying is possible. I'm saying I can give you data to say if you put Mortal Kombat on Game Pass, it'll do well.
Wait, doesn't Grounded have like 15 million players? Or 20? Sure. Sorry, Grounded has like 20 million players. That's an Xbox game. They come out on PlayStation.
Yes.
Isn't that like a childish game?
I mean, yeah, sure.
Do you think Mortal Kombat pulls in 20 million players not on Grounded?
Well, it's not on Game Pass.
No,
so
but you think Mortal
Kombat
comes out on day 1 on Game Pass. Do you think it pulls more than 20 million players on Grounded?
Oof, I'd have to think about that.
I would
have to think about it.
Wait. Starfield isn't even 20 million players. Why would you think Mortal Kombat is going to do more than Starfield? That doesn't make sense.
So does Grounded have 20 million players on Xbox?
No, across all platforms, Xbox and PC.
Again, that's a different type of game. If we're comparing like for like, give me another example.
Wait, to be clear, if Mortal Kombat comes out on Game Pass and you think it does better than 20 million players, what you're essentially saying is that Mortal Kombat becomes one of the best games on Game Pass.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I get the point that you're making, But I just think, okay, like that's an example I'd need to think clearly about. Like I'd need to think carefully about. I'm not just going to give you an answer off the top of my head.
But I just say
because I just need to. I would need to understand the variables because again, I need to understand why grounded. Like, or like for instance, like where did grounded do that well? So like that's what I would need to do. I don't want to go into an argument where I'm going to take a stance. But like I'm just defending based on what I know. That's all I'm going to say.
I get that.
Like for like, based on what I have.
This, like Fuzzy, for example, he doesn't like. I mean, I think Fuzzy likes Grounded. I think Richie's played it as well before, and they're all saying the exact same thing, which is like, I don't fuck with Nintendo games, but Smash Bros. I fuck with. Right, I'm saying I don't even fuck with fighting games. I haven't played Street Fighter, but I'm buying the Smash Bros. Xbox game, and Kenwell probably is doing the exact same thing as well. I'm saying like you're looking at it from a Usher's point of view, as opposed to like, well, what does Xbox as a group like? Xbox fans don't play fighting games, but they'll play an Xbox game that has Master Chief in it and also has other Xbox stars. Like Banjo's a huge selling point. Banjo's
well, I mean, okay, but again. My question is, if you look at those IPs and you look at those games, like how relevant are they to that audience today in terms of like, if you put out a Banjo-Kazooie game, do you think it will sell 10 million?
Nah, but it's not about that, because if you put out an Ice Climbers game, it's not selling that much.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
But no, I agree. Totally. Yes. So that's how I'm looking at it. I'm just looking at like, you know what? Yes, you have all these IPs, but I just don't see them doing that. And again, like with Grounded, what makes it complicated is that it's a very much, live service. Again, like you have to look at the games and you have to look at like how it's positioned, because Grounded crushes almost every, like that 20 million players is not a joke. Same with Sea of Thieves, crushes almost everything.
But I'm saying that like if you have the already, we know Grounded did 20 million players, right? 20 million plus. I think it was 25 actually. You in your advertising campaign, you're showing the Grounded players. So you're showing the Grounded players, all the black kid, all those kind of characters. You're showing them plant stuff. I'm saying that you show the Grounded players, so now all the Grounded fans are looking at that and say, "Oh, that's my guy that I played." And then you're showing him fight Crash, and then you're showing him fight Spyro, and then you're showing him fight like, the Psychonauts character, and then you saw Chief coming up to save him. And then Doom Guy then steps in to help. Like you think about the marketing and the user bases that you're pulling in from. Killer Instinct has nothing on that.
I considered the Killer Instinct thing a long time ago. I said definitely, I agree with you guys. Killer Instinct.
But I'm saying like that will sell, because you're not just pulling in. First of all, you're gonna pull in hardcore Xbox fans. And you're gonna pull in Xbox casual fans. Now you're gonna start pulling in franchise people who like these franchises from different places. And I think that's where the selling point is. Look, I think people even start to buy this game by default because it's like, it is. Richie says Usher is sad. Surely he was the guy who got beaten by everyone in Smash Bros. Like he says the game has to be good. Smash Bros wouldn't do nearly as well if it wasn't for. Yeah, exactly. But one of the things that Smash Bros did was they went to Bandai Namco for Ultimate, and I think for the Wii U version, and they got Bandai Namco to help them, like, help us with the balance and that kind of stuff. So Bandai Namco has experience working with these kind of games already. So I'm saying that like you get somebody in charge to deal with the the IPs in terms of like the story, the writing, maybe get like whichever. I'd even go freaking further. Get the guys who did High on Life to do the story, and get the High on Life characters to be part of the game. So it's a funny, quirky game where everyone's laughing, everyone's having a good time. Make it go viral. Do something silly. Show Crash doing something dumb and Spyro doing something, and have a moment like the Avengers or something where everyone's getting beaten by some evil villain, and then Chief comes in with Conker on his shoulder. Like, there's so much marketing value here that you pull in those fan bases, you put in Xbox players, you make Nintendo players look at it, you make PlayStation players look at it. Like, this is such a, like, to me, this is like a layup. So simple.
So look, like, all I'm gonna say is I'm not gonna die on this hill. Sorry, go ahead, Kel.
No, go. Yeah, go.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna die on this hill, but nope, I'm not convinced. Because if this is such a layup, someone would have done it by now. If this was such an easy sort of like point A to point B, with all the studios and all the resources and all the IPs that Xbox has, someone would have done it if they thought that this was lucrative. Again, this goes back to like how overall lucrative are fighting games or these sort of like fighting games on console. I mean, even normal fighting games don't do that great. They don't do like 10 million on one console. You know, they'll do like, I mean, Street Fighter, it being the biggest. I don't even think Street Fighter sold over 7 million across all platforms. So fighting games don't typically do well on both of those platforms.
If I would say if this Xbox game, let's say it's multi-platform for argument's sake, it sells more than Street Fighter. I mean, it has to be good.
Well, on Xbox,
no, it has to be good. So
everywhere.
let's say like if it's a 92 Metacritic for argument's sake, it sells more than Street Fighter, for sure.
On Xbox.
No, on all platforms. If you're saying
on all
Street
platforms,
Fighter,
yes, that's a different conversation. I think games like that will do great on Nintendo.
No, but I'm
they'll do
saying
great
that
on
like
Steam.
I'm saying that this game sells more than Street Fighter on Xbox exclusively as well. I'm saying this game outsells.
Okay.
I'm just saying this game is a console seller. I can guarantee you it's a console seller.
I'm not convinced. I'm not gonna die on the hill for it, but I'm not convinced. I just don't have enough data to say that this is something that would work on Xbox, just like it didn't work on PlayStation. I just don't see it.
PlayStation 1 sucked.
Like, I mean, okay, cool. Let me just check. I don't know what the Metacritic score was for PlayStation All Stars, to be honest with you. I remember it came out. But anyways, guys, like so yeah, so I think if you guys wanna like, yeah, we can conclude that conversation there and move on to something else. But yeah, so my stance though is still you guys would need to present. I'm not saying that the idea is totally out of, but you guys would need to present me with more evidence for me to buy this idea of this battle royale working on an Xbox like it did for Nintendo. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
Fair
I'm
enough.
saying. Yeah, I mean, you guys. Brilliant pitches. I love the pitch. I love your pitch.
Yo, listen, it sounds better than freaking. It does better than freaking Avowed. It does better than Outer Worlds 2. It does more than Hellblade 2. It does better than any Xbox freaking game. The only game it doesn't probably do better, and you can maybe argument is like Starfield. But even that, like I think, like you gotta remember, like Grounded has more players than Starfield. Like Grounded is a very casual,
but that's
fun
the
game
thing
to play.
That's the thing though. It's like it's very hard to compare those type of games together because of there's a lot of other factors you have to consider in terms of the type of game. Live service games just have that appeal. Let's just put like that. If we go and look at, like, for instance, the games that sold on PlayStation, it's not the meaty AAA games that everybody is always having debates about. It was Forza, which you can say sort of treads that ground, and then it was Sea of Thieves. And I think the closest one single player that did well there was Oblivion, which is a remaster. But like the top, if you just look at the top five, the majority of them that did well were live service games. So live service games tend to have a very different life.
Even apart from that, it's a live service game. Like, I mean, Sea of Thieves is a game you have to go out and buy, but it's a casual game. Sea of Thieves has 40 million players.
Yeah, it's a live service game.
So I think you were looking at it like, well, I'm not sure I like hardcore gory games.
Let me put it like this.
But I'm telling you that like Xbox's best-selling franchises are far from that. It's Sea of Thieves. It's Grounded. Like it's this very kind of like playful, kiddie kind of games. So I'm
absolutely
saying, yeah.
And I'm saying,
so do this. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, okay, cool. I feel you when you say, okay, not for me. Absolutely. I just don't think there's a market for that type of game on the PlayStation and the X, just because of the type of genre it is.
But even I'll say this, right? I think Xbox players, they ain't rocking with Flight Simulator. They ain't really rocking with Sea of Thieves. I mean, like that. At least from a hardcore point of view, yeah. I think this is one title that they would just automatically go buy because for them it's a celebration of Xbox. And they feel compelled to buy it. Like when you said to me some time ago that like some exclusives game, because it's exclusive to your platform and you're a hardcore fan, you just go buy it. I think not only do the Xbox casuals buy this game, but every Xbox hardcore guy buys this game. But I'll tell you one thing, not every Xbox hardcore guy is going to go buy Spyro. They're going to go buy Crash, but they will buy an Xbox all-star fighting game 100%. By default.
So I'll say this: you guys make a very
what, motherfucker, argument. You buy it too.
Yeah.
Look, you guys make a very strong.
No, I mean, answer that. Yeah, would you buy? Like, imagine Xbox was like back to being exclusive, right? And they've released an Xbox All-Star fighting game. Would you buy it? Or
yeah, sure. Well,
you
if it's
buy
on Game Pass, I'm
okay.
just gonna play it on Game Pass.
Yeah,
But
but tell
I
me
would
this,
not buy it if it was on Game Pass. It was available on Game Pass,
okay, but
and I
okay,
didn't have to buy
but
it.
hold on. But would you go buy a Spyro a Crash Bandicoot game?
No.
Do you see my point? You wouldn't buy a Crash game, you wouldn't buy a Spyro game, but you'd buy an Xbox All-Star fighting game.
Well, again,
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
it would depend on a couple of things, right? It would come with terms and conditions. I wouldn't just automatically. If it was like $40, yes, maybe. Like I would definitely cop it, but it would really need to be like a 92% for me to think about purchasing it. If it was at like $70,
Okay.
the score would have to be. If it's like a 90, absolutely, because that's a good game. Like I would be in. I would just be me being petty if I say I'm not gonna buy it.
Yeah, but you ain't buying a 90s Crash Spyro game at all, are you?
Well, no. If it was a like, look, if they released a Crash game that was a 90%, I would buy it.
Okay.
Because again, it's a quality game. Like
Why? But you don't like platform games.
I don't like the current platform. Like I like if you gave me Nintendo platform, a Nintendo console, I'm probably just gonna play platformers. I'm probably just gonna play Super Mario.
Wait. So if you had a wait. So to be clear, if Astro Bots came out day one on Steam and it said 94 Metacritic, you're buying it?
No. I'll never, because again, like I'm not a fan of Sony's type of games. Like I have not bought a single game on PlayStation, like just on Steam. I've not bought a single one of PlayStation's exclusives, even though I know that they run the base and they have the base graphics. I'm principally against the fact that PlayStation games on Steam are ridiculously expensive and they never really go on discount. The discounts are just, they're not great. Okay. So I don't mess with PlayStation games on Steam.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, yeah, listen, we can move on to something else. But
yeah,
just so you know, this is another L.
This is a banger. This game is a banger. I kind of I was a little fuzzy on it, but nah. Talking about it, this shit would get me a Project Helix, and I would buy the game if they said it wasn't coming out on Game Pass. I would buy it.
Yeah, same. Like I'm buying it. Listen, man, if the game is good. And you telling me, yo, we got cinematics, we got a story, it's funny, like high on life, and it's gonna be like in an Avengers kind of game where you have to go and save the universe, and there's gonna be cutscenes where everyone's dying, and then and then there's gonna be a scene where all the heroes come out to fight each other. Like, goddamn! And then you market this thing well. And then, you reach out to your third party guys, you reach out to the Powerball guys.
So if you gave, let me put like this. Yeah. So I was gonna say, simply put, right? If you gave me a choice between, and again, we're talking about me now. We're not talking about like the market. If you gave me a choice between, here's Killer Instinct for $70, here's Smash Gears or Smash Halo, Xbox Hero Fighter, I choose Killer Instinct any day, because that's, to me, that is what's appealing. So in that, when we're talking about me, when it comes to the market, as I said, like you guys make a very compelling argument, and I think there's something there, but I would actually just I want something to say to me that there's a market for that sort of thing on these platforms. That's the only thing I say, like I would like to see, then I'll be convinced. But yeah, you guys pitched it very well. I think you guys put together a very good pitch in terms of like what the appeal. I see the appeal of this for Xbox fans. Yeah, but I still would choose Killer Instinct over it.
Okay.
Or a Street Fighter or a Mortal Kombat if I was given that choice.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, cool. So I don't know, like, so my main topic
just something on Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct has accumulated over 10 million unique players across Xbox, Windows, Steam as of late 2023. If this is true, and you also believe it to be true that this game will do better than Killer Instinct, that means we're probably looking at 15 million plus players across all PC and Xbox consoles. 15 million players is a pretty good number, I would say. That's pretty
great.
Much
like
that's beating Starfield numbers. And also, Killer Instinct probably pulled in players because of the fact that it was a Killer Instinct IP and it was a free to play game, wasn't it? Or you said it was free to play?
It was free to play when it was launched, and then you sort of got like packs every week being released. They started off with like 5 players and whatever. I wasn't a fan of that. I just think they should have just released it as a full-on standalone game. I think it would have made a bigger impact.
I'm pretty convinced. Like Lifetime sells this the Smash Bros fighting game on Game Pass and Steam and Xbox probably surpasses 15 to 20 plus million players.
All right, man. All right. I hear you guys, but I need to be convinced.
Sure.
Anyways, I don't know. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about? We're in the third hour. We're going to the third hour. So, Kenwell, we've been going for a while. We spent most of the time talking about exclusives and Xbox Studios. I don't know. What is there specific subject that you want to sort of come in with? So Fuzzy says Crash is cool. Probably the best fun I've had with the platformer. It's a great platformer. It's a little bit too difficult for my taste. Sorry, Kenwell, go ahead.
I'm trying to see if there's anything this week that's really interesting.
If I can just think off the top of my head some of the stories that came out. Yay, everybody. Xbox gave everybody Xbox emails this week. Congrats. Oh, yes, this is something I wanted to discuss because I've tried it. Guys in the chat, who has tried Xbox mode on PC or on handheld? Fuzzy says, I played the second Nickelodeon Smash clone last year. It's pretty good. Is it on Game Pass? I think it's on Game Pass, Fuzzy. I'll give it a shot. I've not played anything Smash Bros. Like since Multiverses. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I've not. I've not tried that. Tried that out.
Sorry, I think, what was the question? Sorry, I forgot now. Like, I lost my train of thought. But I did ask a question before I went to Fuzzy.
This worthless mode is still not available on.
Yes. Sorry, Xbox mode. Yes. Ty, is Ty still there?
Yeah, what's up?
Have you tried Xbox mode?
I haven't tried it. I don't care about it.
What?
Yeah, I don't care about it.
Why?
Because Xbox mode is basically as soon as you turn on your PC, it's the Xbox.
No, well, on PC, it doesn't default to that. On PC, you have to go into the app and you have to choose Xbox. I don't know if you can launch. Let me see. No, I don't want to do that. Just now it kicks me out. But I've never had a situation where it automatically starts up at launch like it does on my handheld. I actually have to go into the app and then select Xbox mode. Then it turns the PC into Xbox mode.
Oh, so it doesn't boot into Xbox mode?
No. It's an app. It's on whatchamacallit. It's on.
Okay. Does it give any benefits that is particularly like good?
It just makes playing with a controller, as far as I could see, better. And it also just minimizes a lot of the stuff that's going on in the background to free up more memory, etc. Well, but it's not anything that I've seen visibly. If you have a good system, you're not going to see much difference if you have a strong PC. It helps in the handheld because it optimizes a lot of the stuff, the shortcomings of the handheld. On PC, it's just a novelty. From what I've gathered so far.
Okay, so I thought it was booting into the actual app itself. I mean, listen, I could try it out because, like, why not? Like, next time I'm playing the game, I'll just hit it and see if if it gives me better performance. My PC is pretty good. I think I have a 4070. Is it 46 or 47? I think I have a 4070. So I ain't like you broke motherfuckers. I'm like that good shit. So I don't need no optimization. I just power through. You know what it is.
Oh, please listen to this guy.
We doing stuff.
You think you have a 4070. That's all I need to know about you is the fact that you're not sure whether it's a 4070 or
actually
not.
No, I'm fucking right. It is a 4070. Spent like 2K on this bad boy,
Yo, I see you, Ty, big dog.
flex on
Yeah.
us. This guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like, so I've never really had to really tone down anything on the PC. Maybe I haven't played like Cyberpunk or any of those like hard hitting games yet, to be
It
honest.
won't
So
make a difference. Like it doesn't make a difference to I've got a 30 what you call it, a 3060 Ti, and not a whip of difference. Like I think really like I like, for me, they've not given a use case for this thing for PC, for full PC, except the only advantage that it has is it just makes it easier, which is their console thing. Is it gives you the impression that you're using your PC like a console. In other words, you're navigating the windows and the menu with a controller versus your keyboard. That's the only difference it makes on PC. Everything else.
Fuzzy says he has a 7900 XTX. What's that?
What's that?
Is that AMD?
Where is that?
Another brokey.
That's AMD.
Oh, dude, that smokes your card, dude.
Huh?
That's smokes your card.
A 79 XTS smokes your card.
Yo, sure. Another brokey system. Nothing matching my 4070.
All right, buddy. All right.
That
4070 getting to your head.
Equivalent. I think that is the equivalent of the 9070 XT, right? In terms of overall power, that's a 4K graphics card.
Yeah.
That's a 4K. It's before the latest line of Nvidia graphics cards were released. This was the end all when it comes to
Fuzzy,
Nvidia.
pass that card over here, man. I'll use it well. You play Pentiment, you play Grounded.
What the hell, Pentiment on that?
You play Psychonauts with them kids. Listen,
That's
I'll use that card, man. I'll put on the Cyberpunk. I'll put on the Starfield. I know how to use that thing.
This guy. Yeah, so here's the comparison. Like it's better natively than anything besides a 4090 and a 5090. So it's that card. I think it's 24 gig, right? Is it 24 gig of memory?
I mean,
that's like twice the gigs of your card. I think 4070 is 12 gig.
I mean, I guess you could take Pentiment to 12K or whatever, like good for you.
I need to upgrade mine. I don't know. Is 3080 still good?
3080 is brilliant, dude.
It's good?
Yeah, it's good. But the only thing, again, is you need to be careful of because of like how demanding the current crop of AAA games are. The problem with the 3080 is that it's only 8 gigs. But I believe there's a 3080 Ti. This is real nerd stuff. That's 10 gig. If you can get that.
Actually, I have a 10 gig one. I'm at my About PC. I got a 10 gig one.
A 10 gig 3080.
Yeah, 3080.
That one is good. That one is, you don't have to worry. That's the equivalent of like a 4070, more or less, in power.
Hey, Ty, you look at that. Look at that, Ty. What up now?
Again, there's two versions of I don't know which one Ty has. There's two versions of the 4070. I believe there's an 8 gig and a 12 gig. Can't remember. So Ty would have to tell you. But like your card is equivalent. It should be more or less. You can even watch the benchmarks on YouTube. It should be more or less there. Yeah, look at that. 24 gigs, dude. Like 24 gigs.
Holy
That's my
shit.
next card. I need a card with like 24 fucking gigs.
24 gigs, bro.
Dude. That is insane.
What the fuck? That's the one you gotta get like a good monitor with it too.
Correct.
That shit will bottleneck your monitor.
The thing about those cards, they're for path tracing. Like Cyberpunk path tracing and all these yeah. That's what you get. You get that level of quality with those cards. But look, I promise you, I vouch for the 30 series, and the 3080, the 10 gig version. That is no slouch. That is a strong card that can compete with the 4070s.
Yeah, that's what a brokey would say.
Anyways, all right, guys. So a little bit of a detour there. What else? Anything else you guys want to talk about? I'm just scrolling through to X and seeing some of the biggest stories.
Did you guys see the Blood of the Dawnwalker gameplay?
Yo, looks
Yeah, we did. Let me
Bro,
see if I can get
that game, I'm very interested in that game.
I think one of the not complaints, but I saw the IGN preview, and one of the things that the guy said was that everything looks good, everything looks great, but the only thing he's a bit cautious about is the gameplay. He said that because it kind of has the same Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 kind of gameplay, which works well for that. People like it. But he said that he didn't get a chance to try it, and it's probably one of those games that feels good to play as opposed to watching.
I think it looks. Yeah, I think the combat looks kind of stale.
Yeah,
like it kind of looks. It's like that could look cooler. Everything that like the special effects, like the claws and all that, the magic. It's like that could look cooler.
Yeah, but I think what the key thing that he was trying to say there was that that it's probably one of those games that, like, because it's tactical, you're engaged, so you're actually having a good time playing it.
Okay,
and it looks good to play as opposed to looks good to watch. Because he said, like, it's kind of similar to Kingdom Come Deliverance, and people like the gameplay there. Now, whether that holds true or not will be the interesting part. But overall, the game looks pretty good. I mean, it looks like The Witcher. There were some parts where I was kind of like, graphically, I would like it to be better. Sometimes it did look good graphically, sometimes it looked okay. But I need to keep in mind that this is a studio that is kind of new, that have experience, but it's a studio that's new, and you don't need to kind of go all out with the graphics, as long as it looks good enough. And then if that then succeeds, then start to push forward. Basically, do what Hazelight did. Make a game and then expand and expand and expand.
What I want to know if they're going to be able to fulfill this. This choices, every RPG wants to go like, yeah, every choice matters, but like to what degree? Because they said how it works is basically you do the prologue, the tutorial, and then you have the 30-day limit, and so you go out. Like there's activities that show up on the top right of your screen. So like, oh, go meet this person, go to the temple. So there's activities like that, but there's no main side quest. There's none of that. There's nothing that tells you that. There's just activities you do from what they're explaining. So I'm like, okay, I like the open-endedness. I feel like that's going to be a little bit better than like a game like Crimson Desert, where it's just meant to explore, because you have the timer over your head. So like the timer has to deal with the main story. So I like that, but let's see how that really goes when you're actually playing it. So that's why I find it. I think it's the most interesting game that we have left coming out this year. I think every game pretty much what you're gonna get, but I feel like this game can be a lot more interesting in terms of what kind of gameplay we're gonna see.
I mean, like, if you think about it, like games that have done, like, caught people's attention, it's replaced with its art style, it's Pragmata with its gameplay hacking system, it's Blood of the Dawnwalker with its unique storytelling, the way they execute the story. To an extent, it's James Bond with its kind of like Hitman style meets an open world kind of game. Like, I've said it a couple of times now that, like, if you want to do well and sell, because there's so much titles out there, you need to do something very different and unique. You can't just put out your generic kind of game. I think that's why games like Flintlock and games like Banishers didn't meet expectations, because at the end of the day, they were probably just weaker versions of the games that they were trying to emulate.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm in agreement.
I'm like, they CD Projekt Red devs, that's a pretty damn good sign.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things. It's kind of like Judas. It's like, oh, that looks like BioShock. It's like, yeah, because those are the people that made that. So of course it's gonna look like Witcher 3. But I think they're gonna have. I just have faith in this. That's all I can say. I just have faith in this, and they're not trying to just make a Witcher like this. this time, I can't stress that enough. If they can pull off that 30-day timer, then and make it feel rewarding when you complete it, or really punishing when you don't complete it, then I think that's a successful ass game.
Because it says it's coming out in September, and it says it's going to be a bloodbath. What are games coming out in September?
Wolverine.
I mean, this is
Blade
GTA.
0.
This is GTA year, bro. So it is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, but September is pretty brutal though, because
Yeah.
Wolverine right now, Wolverine and Phantom Blade 0 come out the same, I think 4 days away from each other.
Yeah,
And then Blood of the Dawnwalker comes out the week before.
I don't think anyone is checking for Phantom Blade though, and I could be wrong,
bro. A lot of people are.
Is it?
Yeah, a lot. It's getting the hype. Like, this is the second to Black Myth, Wukong. This is the second to that of what you can compare it to.
Okay, no, then I must be. I'll actually look into that, because then I must really be out of what is it? That conversation.
And then 2K comes out in the States. That's a game that usually is a top seller in September.
Which one?
2K,
NBA
basketball, NBA 2K. So,
the thing is, there used to be an entire series of like 2K sports games.
Yeah.
Before EA just money headed all the licenses. Do they don't even make any like an NHL game anymore?
Yeah, they don't. They only make football. Oh, football.
No, I mean 2K.
Oh,
remember?
Yeah. 2K.
The same like in terms of sports, they used to have a football game, because this is all the Sega games. This is the legacy of the Sega. You had a hockey game, you had an NBA game, you had an NFL game. So you used to have like the three biggest sports in America represented under 2K. And then, of course, they bought out the NFL license.
Yeah.
And then the hockey games, I remember them being released as recent as 2015. Am I wrong?
2015. Let me see.
NHL 2K 2015 or something like that. Now it's NBA and wrestling and WWE 2K, which is sad though, because
I think it stopped at 10, bro.
Really?
Maybe. I'm trying to see the last one.
Interesting.
Hold on, let me see. 2014. 2014 was the last game.
Yes, I thought so. That I remember it at 2K and because I love hockey games. Like, I used to be a huge fan of hockey games. So now, what happened to the NBA live games from? Sorry, guys, this is just.
I think live stopped at 19. It was funny because they took a year off, so there's no NBA Live 17, and when 18 was like a significant like boost because it was actually good. Like, it was like, oh, this is what you guys could do when you have a year off. But then EA EA did their thing where they just came out with NBA Live 19. And I was like, damn, that like really killed it, because there really wasn't that much of a difference from 18 and 19. Because 18, it was a good foundation of what the gameplay should be. But it wasn't perfect. It was just a good foundation. And so I always felt they should have taken more years. Like, EA, you don't need to come out, like, you're not competing with 2K yet. Like, you should know that. You should get your gameplay down first, then try and compete with 2K by coming out every year. It doesn't help that you just, all right, let's just do this and then keep going. Let's just keep coming out every year. It just didn't make sense. It failed.
Yeah. So to me, like, I miss the days, like, if you came from the N64 PS1 era, and even not really before that, sports was before the 3D era. Yeah, sports games were not like at that level yet. But I miss the PS1 and N64 all the way to the Dreamcast era, where you had like 3 different developers making you a licensed football game, a licensed soccer game, a licensed basketball game. That is when some of the greatest, I think the last 2K game that came out on the Dreamcast, or was it the first one that came out on the PS2 and the Xbox, is still considered by today the best Madden the 2K game, and then of course the Madden game that came out around that time is also considered the best because there was competition. I'm a huge advocate of you always need competition for even soccer games. Soccer games have become so since Pro Evolution is no longer in existence. Really, soccer games have gone to crap. And I think a lot of NHL fans feel not NHL, NFL fans feel the same about Madden. I mean, Angry Joe certainly does. He makes that a point. Yeah, man, sucks. I'm not a sports game guy, but I get the relevance of those franchise. Anyways, there's the only other two stories I can think of here is I don't know if you're a fan of spiders, Kennel.
Spiders.
They're an RPG game developer. They're behind Greedfall and Steel Rising.
Oh, is that the developer that's closing?
Yeah, they're shutting down.
Yeah, I saw that. I never played any of their games though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, this is just where we are now. Spiders.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised. I actually pegged Spiders as like a company to purchase at some point because I felt like they were on the cusp of making a top quality RPG game, just a few more tweaks here and there, and some financial support and things that went well. But the last couple of games, they just didn't really take it, and I think the last game that they dropped kind of didn't do well at all. I think the fan base was kind of saying like, why did y'all go towards Baldur's Gate turn-based kind of game instead of like what you were doing before? I think it completely bombed. So I'm not surprised. Like I always say, like in this industry now, you just can't be spending millions and then not bringing in that return.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the one big story. This game looks good though. I'm surprised actually. I didn't actually give this a try.
Which game?
This Invincible versus that's in the background.
Yo man, my Smash Bros. Xbox game sells more than this crap.
Oh my gosh, here we go again. Anywho, moving right along. Aside from that, I had another big story here. Oh yes. We have not touched on, and I think probably this could be our last story, unless you guys have anything else to add. The PlayStation DRM. Let's hear it.
This story. So many people heard that like there was a rumor, or not even a rumor, it was shown that if you were to purchase a PlayStation game, you would have to be signing in maybe every like 30 days for you to have access to that game. And basically what Xbox was doing back in the past, that kind of hurt them with the Xbox One launch. Truth be told, I couldn't find any financial or good reason why they would do this. And as soon as I couldn't, I thought it was a bit suspect. And some people mentioned that like, oh, it's a way to kind of block, people from pirating. And the next thing I kind of came to my mind is like, there's surely some better way to deal with this. Like it didn't make sense for them to do something like this. You could see why they might want to increase prices of the consoles to $50. You could see why they might want to, do certain things, start making 10 live service games. But to do this doesn't make sense, regardless if Xbox is down and out or not. Like there's just no sense to this. So obviously, I think the confirmation now that we have from PlayStation is that no, you just do it once and then it's you're fine, and that makes sense to me. Now, did they mess something up? But people trying different things within PlayStation and they just kind of had it there? Maybe it's possible. I think all these situations always happening. Like there's no situation where you don't plan for certain things. Some people have bad ideas, and you could kind of create the foundation for it. So I think it's okay. But yeah, I just couldn't see this happening. It just wouldn't have made sense in any way, shape, or form. Now, the interesting question is, would Sony have lost like 30 million, 20 million people like Xbox did when they did this? The answer is no, they wouldn't have.
No. Well, again, like Sony, I don't know, man. Like, I just think the messaging is always just better with Sony. It never blows up to be this big deal. But you could just say that that's because of Xbox tax, and that would be a fair argument. Kenwell?
Yeah, This is I've heard about the story, but I didn't know that much detail. So good looks, Ty, for knowing that shit. But it's exactly like you said. I saw it, and then I saw Sony come out with the statement, and like you said, Aushus was like, it just wasn't that big of a deal when they explained it. I think that's why it's always key to have good PR, and just know. But I really, as for me being, because I play on PlayStation and PC, I don't really have a problem with this. I don't think this is going to interfere with any of the stuff I play. So that's why it's more like out of sight, out of mind. Like I saw it, and then I was like, all right, I went about my day, and I played some Sorrows. So yeah, I don't think it's too bad. Okay. You always have people that make a big deal out of it, but
of course,
that's a small concern of people.
Yeah, but like, what do you think about
the very trigger happy?
Sorry, go ahead.
They're very trigger happy gamers in general. So I'm not, surprised that this was kind of overblown. But at the same time, sometimes like about the video game industry, because they get so trigger happy, it can force companies to kind of maybe take a second look and say, "Yo, do we need this bad press right now? Like, let's, maybe we shouldn't do it." So it's good and bad because they can force people to make consumer decisions that are friendly. But at the same time, they're, depending on how the gamers are thinking, they could, push negative or bad situations.
The only thing I'll say is that, like, when it comes to this, is I just think when it comes to overall marketing, just messaging, like I think Xbox needs to study why things always just go out of proportions when they do like for like things, like again, we can say there's industry bias built in, but they need to look into all of that. They need to unpack all of that and understand where does this stem from and how do you change that perception that you're always guilty, like regardless of what you do. Everyone is going to give you the maximum amount of hate. The way that this thing just blew over when it comes to PlayStation, and again, for me, like, everybody sort of shared that meme of like, this is how you share games on PlayStation. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, like, of course, it's been like almost a decade since that happened, but actually over a decade. But my point being, again, like, Sony could have done the same thing the next night if, they decided at that time that that's the direction they wanted to go to, and they would have had less backlash, in my opinion, than Nintendo than Xbox. Even back in 2014, I think it wouldn't have been as bad for them because they would have probably done it after Microsoft anyway.
So somebody did say that they were like, if Sony had been the first one to do the whole online gaming situation, that it wouldn't have been as bad and they wouldn't have lost all those users. I actually feel like I disagree. I definitely disagree, because I think one thing to remember is if Ryan McCaffrey is correct and he's like Xbox within themselves that they lost 20 million users, that's 20 million Xbox players leaving. And I think the same thing for Sony. Now, people might say like, no, they wouldn't leave. Yeah, but keep in mind the PS1 sold 10 million, PS2 sold like 150 million, PS3 sold 80 million because they made mistakes. I think that would have been a big mistake as well. So they would have just left as well, right? So I think it's just such bad press that people will just leave eventually. So I think if Sony did it back then, it would have hurt as well. Now though, it doesn't matter if you do it. Like, no one's gonna leave. I think that's one of the reasons why is because people are locked in within the ecosystem. I don't think people are as sensitive to these things as much because everyone is already online anyway, and it's not really gonna have a material effect. I think the third thing is because Xbox sucks.
Yeah,
like where are you gonna go?
To
those guys?
We've just spent the whole 3 hours speaking about Xbox, and this is your conclusion, is that Xbox sucks.
It is. Remember when Sony increased the price of the consoles to Japan, and there's a couple of Japanese people who say like Sony sucks, and I'm like, bro, where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You want to come to this side and play Pentiment? Avowed?
Yeah.
What you want? Or you want to stay on that side and play Black Myth Wukong?
Low key shots fired.
Neo 3. You know what I mean? I'm like, what you mean? Like, so like, nah, you ain't going nowhere, bro.
Why?
Like Steam
Why?
can come on right now and say, you know what, every game on Steam from here on in is gonna be an extra $3. And Epic can be like, oh no, we're cheaper guys. Ain't no one going to Epic.
Yeah.
People pay the $3. Like it's just one of those situations where like we know you ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Sony knows it. It is what it is.
Yeah, it definitely
Very-
seems like they're getting in that bag for sure.
This is the most. Sorry, guys. I can't help but notice, but this is like the most violent version of Steve Harvey I've ever seen. Steve Harvey doing the most. Ooh, Anissa, yes. I think I'm gonna buy this game. Looks like they did like I'm just looking at this like the gameplay wise, it looks good. It plays like Marvel versus Capcom, but the violence level has turned up to
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat. I saw heads exploding, clothes being bloodied, like and the art style I like. It's very, very appealing. Yeah, man, and it's probably not going for full price. I don't think it's $70. I think it's like 40. No? Definitely worth checking out. All right, gents. So I think we covered everything we wanted to cover and talk about. Unless there's any extras or anything over and above, you guys can just tell us what you're up to this week, and we will let everybody get on with their weekend gaming.
The guys who made Wu Chang, their studio has closed down, but the publisher has purchased the IP. I think it's a good buy, to be honest. I think the IP did well, and I think the only reason why the IP didn't, probably we're not gonna sequel is because, well, maybe they didn't sell anything crazy, but also because the lead left and the studio didn't want to do other stuff, so they shut them down. I think that's a really I think it's good because it means that the IP is saved, and it means we'll see more of Wu Chang. I did think the game looked good.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know. Damn. So 2 studios shut down.
Yeah, man. It's Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
No. I'm not gasping at like what you said, Kedwell. It's just what's happening on screen. So yeah, 2 studios shut down in 1 week, dude. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I have no opinion in terms of what's happening right now in the gaming industry in terms of like all these layoffs and all these studios shutting down, and yeah, it's just too depressing to sort of think about. Like, look, we can say it's the natural part of the cycle and whatever, but it's so depressing.
I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
I don't actually care.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I can't really care.
Yeah. No. As a customer, it's not your job to care.
No, but it's not even really like yes or no. But the reason why I just don't care really is because I just look at it and say like there's just too much supply.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Like I can't like the idea of me like imagine like for example when Tango got shut down. Yeah, okay, it's sad or whatever it is. Yeah, bro, I didn't buy the game. I didn't even play the game. Like, so I'm upset I'm upset because people are not playing something that I won't even play.
But I bought like Wu Chang. So what is it? Was it Wu Chang Feathers? Whatnot. Mm-hmm. I got the the deluxe edition thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, just like you said. It's just you care because people are losing their jobs, but that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Like, their next game wasn't coming out for another decade because a game takes fucking how long to create. So I don't even know when's the next time I was gonna see these guys again.
Like when I think of even like Wu Chang, I think of like before I even get to Wu Chang, like there's like Lies of P to get through. There's Neo 3 to get through. There was that other game that came out on Xbox Game Pass as well. That's like 80 Metacritic. There's Steadable that I need to get through. There's the game from China and Black Myth Wook. Like there's just too much to like. For me to actually like care to like, oh well, I might not say that IP again, Bride. I can't even get to you. Before, like you are like at number 22 in terms of my list of games to play, and that list keeps increasing. I was telling one of these guys like, yo, I want to play Pragmata, but by the time I might be ready to play it, Forza's out, By the time I'm ready, like, and then Fortress is gonna push it back down, then maybe Persona is coming out, maybe James Bond is coming out. Like, it's just everything. And I'm like, wait a second, I actually can't play Pragmata because I still haven't played Baldur's Gate 3. I still haven't played Final Fantasy Remake and Rebirth. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at this point, there's just too much supply, and yeah.
No, valid. Like,
There's a lot of games.
I think a lot of people feel like that in terms of like, yeah, we are spoiled in terms of like just options today more than any other time.
I don't even know if you guys notice. I'm Fuzzy probably knows it. Rachel probably knows it. But the game, the GTA anime game, just released now. Live service game. It's called like
Is it Tamagotchi?
No. It's
that's Nintendo.
Rachel, you used to in the chat. You probably know what it is. It's basically like a GTA anime game.
I know what you're talking about. I saw Asmongold Gold once.
Yeah.
That one. I think.
Yeah,
it's a weird name.
There's two. There's one that's kind of gonna be quiet. It's coming out soon, but there's one that came out recently. It's called NTE, so Nether to Ether. And people have played it so far, and their response is like, "Yo, this game is dope. This is anime GTA." Do you know what I mean? And this game is a free to play game. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there you go. Like, I want to check out this game.
There's too many games. There's a lot of fucking games actually. There's a lot of games, and so not enough time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you just don't get to everything. Yeah, but like I just hope things just equalize, and then so we can just. For me, it's just like it's the negative news cycle that I'm sort of like I'm good. It's just I preferred not hearing about these things, if not at all. Like, it's just
games really gotta they gotta focus on these budgets, because the budgets they're too insane. Because if you gotta sell 5 million copies to break even, fucking scrap that game.
Agreed.
Like, that's a ridiculous amount of sales. You're talking the best-selling games. You're up there with the best-selling games.
Agreed.
And you're a new IP. Get the fuck out of here. You're not doing that. You're not doing
that. Man. Yeah, no, the expectations are too lofty.
He's very, very talented, you know. Actually, I could actually attack Ushers on this one, but maybe not.
What's that?
When you have these discussions about, you always kind of make it seem like, well, these guys are doing this, or why isn't no one else doing this? And it's like, well, because like some of these studios are just really, really talented. And I actually think there's actually, I just didn't thought about it there. It actually defeats actually your point. Or maybe I said this before, because when you were having this discussion about what are genre defining games, and one of the points that you brought up was that it doesn't matter if another studio had the budget, they wouldn't have made Final Fantasy VII. And I think I'm trying to say the same thing now. It doesn't matter if studios have the budget or whatever it is. Not everybody can make a Baldur's Gate. Not everyone can make a Cyberpunk. Not everyone can make all these kind of titles, because it is art. There is a skill involved. There's artistry. There's management. There's product management. There's finance control. There's all these factors that ends up making you a proper game. And I even give you an example with Baldur's Gate. Like, that game wouldn't be as good as it is if they didn't get 7 years to make the game, and they didn't have all that team to make. Like, as soon as you take, I was talking to somebody about this. I predict Clear Obscure took like 6 or 7 years to make. You cut their budget in half, or like you cut it by 3 years. The game probably just not as good. There's a lot of skill involved in making games, and I think we look at like studios that are doing really well, and we say, well, why aren't you doing this? Like, why can't anyone else do this?
So my whole thing is very simple when it comes to that, and it's just a business case situation where, cool, you could be talented, but like, I just think you just need to do your due diligence very well before you start embarking on these projects that are going to cost you 150 million plus. And I think you can take a risk on smaller games with lesser budgets, to Kenwell's point, and there you build in a lot of room for failure. But if your first project is going to be a $200 million project, and then when it bombs, you all out of jobs, I just think somebody didn't do their their due diligence when it comes to their financing and their books, and that's all it comes down to.
No, I agree.
Yep.
But they
last
say they still want new AAA games. Though. Yes, we all do.
Yeah, last thing I'll say is the guy I interviewed on my channel. So what he was saying is he worked for Rockstar, and apparently the budget that Red Dead, the first Red Dead, says it's like 100 something million. Apparently, what he's saying, he said that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
His perspective, especially with AAA games, is the studios like to scale up too fast. Mm-hmm. So he said, team size is not your friend. Time is your friend. Mm-hmm. When these studios get up to like 200 people too fast, mm-hmm. that's when you're running into issues. Mm-hmm. And of course, because you're paying a whole bunch of salaries, and the game's not ready yet. Like you haven't found it out. Like when you start scaling up, it's really supposed to be at the end when you know everything is working. Mm-hmm. And when you scale up, by that point, you have another project to move people to. So, Oshus, like you're saying, it really, from what he said, and I know we heard similar things from other developers, it's on management that a lot of this shit gets out of control.
Yeah, man. Like, focus is just never in the right. I really think you need to manage these studios, like especially the guys that are leading these studios. This needs to be the way that you need to think about it. Is it like you need to reach with your first game the maximum amount of customers that you possibly can. Yeah. That should be your goal. You should be doing all the things to make sure that there's an audience that exists for this game. There's a demand, there's a need for these games. What are other games similar to this game doing? What are their strategies? Like you really need to have people like that just focus on that, and then they steer your direction in terms of where you're going. As another counter to that, if you don't have the capacity to do all that, is just make your games far smaller and build in that way. You build in some room for success. Smaller teams, again, you scale up based on the success of the project, not based on the ambition of the project. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing, which is what you're saying, basically, that they scale up based on the ambition.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I don't think there's any disagreement there, gents. But anyways, I've got an appointment with the Dispatch. I might buy this. Like every single one of these that I'm watching now, all these fights, is convincing me to go get this. And if I get this, I know I'll probably play it all night.
All right.
Because this looks so game good. Instead of Dispatch?
Sorry?
You're gonna play this fighting game instead of Dispatch?
Yeah, dude. Like I'll probably finish this before Dispatch.
Oh shit!
This is my jam. Like I love this. Like this for me. I think it's indicative of the era that I grew up in. Like Mortal Kombat still remains to me one of the most influential franchises in terms of just art direction. And the reason I bought an Xbox 360 was because of Gears of War. That should tell you all you need to know about my preference for chopping off limbs and ultra violence,
psycho murder.
This creature guy was all like, that one likes like murdering people. And, I'm like, why is this guy so like killer instinct? Like, no, it's because he likes it. He likes
this. Is my jam, dude. This is I could play this type of. Yeah, dude. Like exactly. My games. I like my entertainment excessively, hot characters that are unrealistic in design, excessive violence. Yeah, I love excess when it comes to this medium.
This game looks like trash, man. Like I'd rather play Street Fighter than this. Like, what the hell is it? What am I watching?
You can hate all you like, but we can't help what we love. We love what we love, and we like.
You like trash, bro.
I mean, says the guy that plays mobile games. Okay.
Yo, I'm playing GTA. Bro, I'd rather play GTA Grand Theft Auto anime, Neverness to Everness, than this piece of shit that you fucking
Yo.
Look at this trash.
Nah, I'd rather play this than some mobile game, bruh.
Wait. Mobile game. You talk about the GTA anime, the AAA blockbuster one?
Oh yeah, that one, bro. I'd rather play this. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
Like,
I
I
want
love
look at this
GTA.
shit. Like,
I
what
don't
the
want.
hell?
I
Like,
want GTA.
if
Not
if
at
I'm
what I
playing a
all.
want.
fighting game, I'm playing freaking Smash Bros. I'm playing, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. Like, what is this nonsense like that's on my screen?
It's Taya. Go play
This
your
this
go play
wannabe
your mobile
Hulk looking
games. Bro.
creature, like.
anyways, you guys make me laugh. Guys, thank you for joining us. It's always awesome having you. Shout out to Fuzzy, Raichi, in the chat. You guys have really made the show. I think we had an awesome interaction. I think in the future, like I want to make Friday like the debate show where we can have like almost like these verses, for the lack of a better word, and then maybe Wednesday we can do the news, because like, and a slow news week it just becomes very sort of like, then you have to sort of pull things from the tiniest detail, because you're just trying to have something to talk about. I really think there's a lot of stuff that we can discuss, like, going back to gaming history, all that. I want you guys to think about that. Like, what would you like us to sort of like debate? We could have two people, like if we have like a panel like this where there's three of us, one person can sort of be like, in the middle, and then you guys, the other two people can sort of, have different takes on the things, and then we can debate. I think that would be fun. I think that's what we do, but we just do it informally. Think about something else that we can discuss like that. And then Taya had another idea, but this is more entertainment, of just like doing like what ifs, like, if you could go back, like for instance, and we've discussed this many times, if you could go back and rebuild something like the MCU, for instance, let's say after Endgame, what would you do differently? And then
Ooh.
That's fun to speculate about, that type of stuff. So go think about that, guys, and then we'll do it sometime in the future. Guys, thanks for joining us.
That's in all these debates. I'm taking W's and Oceans is taking L's. Just let everyone know. So it's all good, man.
I'm too humble to entertain Taye's taunts.
Sure.
So I'll just say okay. Whatever your head canon says, Taye. Guys, cheers. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and we shall see you guys next week, Wednesday. Players out.
See you guys.